Yo, 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 yo. What's good, guys? How's everyone doing right up in here? Your boy, GRC. Just invited Sam. Sorry, I woke up really early this morning and I was like spamming everyone's feed with shit. And, um, hold on one sec. Yeah, so I'm waiting for Sam to come in here. How's everyone doing, guys? I was just reading hate in my DMs like usual. Guys, I have to ignore everyone. Everyone thinks I'm freaking spam humping Richard Hart now. All my all of my friends that are like, "What's up, dude?"
What's up, brother? How you doing? It looks like you just
People
woke
think
up.
I lose. People think I'm losing credibility because I'm spamming Richard Hart shit. But like, they don't watch my show, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Correct. It doesn't matter. You only care
No,
about
literally, like someone in my life was like, "You need to stop spamming that fluff because people aren't going to respect you." I was like, "I don't care." I was literally like, I could give a fuck. Like, I've never actually thought about my credibility before.
What?
In that sense, other than just lying. Sam, how you doing, bro? I literally fucking fell asleep. I was up early, clipping, sending clips, doing clips, making breakfast. Then I took a nappy poo, and now we're here, guys. How's everyone doing today? Sam, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. I didn't hear from you, but I saw that your post was like, 4 hours ago, and I got up, or like 3 hours ago, and I got up at five something, and I saw your post was like up, so you were in the middle of the night, and I figured you had probably slept in a little bit this morning. But I am doing fantastic. Did you see that Richard Hart actually got his YouTube channel back?
No, he did not.
Yeah, it's back up and live now.
Oh, he didn't go live, did he?
He didn't go live. Well, I don't know, but I
Let me
saw his.
look. Let me make sure because that's emergency.
Uh,
Everyone thinks I'm crazy, dude.
why? I think it's just
Because I
because
love
most.
Richard Hart. Everyone, one of my best family friends was just messaging me, and he was just like, "Let me just read it." Nobody would ever know who this guy
No, yeah,
was,
you don't need to say their name.
but
What?
this dude works at a very. He's a very smart man. That's all I know. He's way smarter than me. This dude was a fucking genius. But I'm telling you, all these smart guys are coming out of the woodworks, and they just think I'm blowing air. They just think I'm blowing air, and I'm like, you guys are missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point.
This is inning one, and they're like, "We're winning in inning one," and they don't realize that there's nine more or eight more innings or whatever, how many innings there are in baseball, like left to go. Like this is the first quarter, and there's so much more to play out, and you're gonna be right in the long run, and that's what really matters. What's up, fam? That's from T-Bird. How you doing, brother? I appreciate you stopping in, or sister. Mexican Papa, how you doing? RH was the spam king. He's got to appreciate your efforts. Oh, I'm sure he does. You posted something yesterday too, where somebody else is shouting you out too.
Oh, that
Mexican.
was funny, Jim. He's one of the originals.
Why don't you find that text message and read it out? You're not loud if you want to.
Dude, my heart's beating fast because of this message. Like, I'm telling you, this is hard for me to swallow, guys. Like, this is all brand new, raw. 40 days into social media. Like, Sam's been doing this for a while. He doesn't care what anyone says or texts or do anything. But like, I know I don't care fundamentally, but like my body still emotionally cares. Like my body, I felt it when someone said something. It was crazy. Let's read.
Yes, share this with it. I know the feeling because in the past I've had that where your adrenaline is like going a little bit, and if you don't post stuff online, maybe you don't see or know that experience. But there's people when you put stuff online who are just they're either not in a good spot mentally or they're just have a very different POV and they maybe don't have tact or know how to be tactful in a conversation, and their things can come across in a way that isn't necessarily the nicest. When I was getting several million views a month on TikTok. Oh man, every day I'd be like, hey, babe, look at this. I had to stop showing my girlfriend because she was getting more upset with me, more upset than I was from these comments that were just like talking shit, just nonstop. But after a while, you do become a little bit callous to it. So do you want to share that?
This is my response first. I said, if people watch my shows, they'll see what's going on. I can't be controlled by anyone. All I do is post exactly what I like. This is what it happens to be at this moment. That's all you can say, right? Hey, we have a special guest on, by the way, that you have no idea about.
Who?
His name's WENDYs4Tendies. He's been around since Ethereum was fucking 6 pennies. This guy is an absolute animal. I don't know about 6 penny Ethereum. I don't know the timeline on that. This dude was helping me before I had 1 T-share in the back room of StreamYard links. Helping me before I had 1 T-share. No reason to help me. No, just being a nice, decent dude. Like just a chill, normal dude.
Let's get him on.
WENDYs4Tendies.
Yo. Definitely not 6 pennies. It never was 6 pennies.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I'm a dude. Tendies,
but
listen to this real quick.
I've been in the game for a minute.
I got to vent to you real quick because I have an emotional problem right now.
What's up?
So like one of my best friends from when I was young messaged me and he's like, you have to stop spamming. And all I was doing was posting just like I normally do. Everything I like to post, right? Everything Richard sends, everything Motley sends. I just repost shit, right?
Right.
And he's just like, you have to, he works at this prestigious, like he's a young man, so he's not up high or anything, but he's an engineer and a developer. And he's getting into the crypto world and he thinks all I'm preaching is fluff. He thinks it's just all marketing and everything. And I really told him, I was like, this is all I like to do. But it's my first time, like people from my real life were like attacking me for what I'm doing in like my free time.
I mean, that happens. I mean, it's funny because on Motley's Facebook, there was like a guy that was I guess a guy he's known for like a long time that was basically like kind of like crap talking Hex and just like take profits, and he goes, like the last time you told me to take profits was like 1,000x ago. You know what I mean? It's like, and then I like looked at this guy's profile and he's like an Edward Jones guy. And I'm like, Edward Jones, like the worst, right? Like they charge high fees, their ETFs are not low expense ratios. I mean, it's just a joke, and then this guy makes commission off everybody, right? So it's just like if you're in the system sometimes like people don't listen to you. And like I told people about Hex day one, like people I worked with and stuff. They knew like when I was working, like I became a millionaire in 2017, and I was still working, and I told people I had made that much, and like nobody listened to me, right? Because it's like if you like imagine like some guy at work is like, oh yeah, that you work with is like, oh yeah, I'm rich, but like you don't see him change his behavior at all, right? Like he's still doing the same stuff. He's still showing up to work, maybe even working overtime. He's still eating the same stuff. His like lifestyle doesn't change, right? It wasn't until my lifestyle like completely changed that everybody started hitting me up, right? So you're driving luxury cars, you're wearing expensive jewelry, I'm wearing designer clothes, I'm going out, eating like, Wagyu every night. I'm taking my entire family out to 5-star restaurants. I'm doing all that stuff. I retired my family. So it's not until like people saw the fruits that they wanted to listen. So I mean, I think it's pretty normal. I think that like most people aren't going to listen to you until, you walk that walk. And then, it's the funniest thing because it's like, you'll post like designer stuff or whatever. And then like I have like, girls that I worked with like message me like, okay, like I want to get, they'll see like a Louis Vuitton thing and they'll be like, okay, I want to invest now. Like that's what does it for them. And so it's always like funny to me because there's so many people that like talk crap about, hex flexing, all that stuff. But it's like it's people that haven't done it that talk crap about it. But like if you actually do it, that is some of the stuff that actually does onboard people that So it's kind but you wouldn't know that if you haven't done it, so it's easy to talk crap about it.
Well, the general public also doesn't understand what it takes for me to get to 100K subs. Like that is also in this. I mean, as far as a hobby, that's what this is, right? I'm trying to do it the best, right? So like as far as I go to 100K subs, how can I reach 100,000 people if I'm talking about nitty gritty details that I look up on my own time?
Right.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean,
Nobody cares. And I'm going to clip this real quick just
private.
to like clip and send it to him. Like nobody, for me to get this channel large, for me to have the impact that I want to have, I do have to do something. Yes, having a sexy girl in a thumbnail gets you more clicks. But at the end of the day, if somebody watches this and knows exactly what I'm talking about, they will see that we're dealing with the most advanced technology in the crypto space. No matter what anyone says, this is where the most money's coming anywhere.
But Wendy, thank you for coming on. Sam, nice to meet you. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and chat with us.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. I had a question for you.
Yeah,
what was that like? I don't know, like how much, you don't have to give exact, but like what was the kind of amount you may have started with? And I'm sure you kept accumulating, but what was that like as that ran up and you're like, wow, I'm still working and now I'm 300, 400, 700 million, right? Like what was that process like for you mentally going through that?
Well, it's weird because, you know, crypto is a lot of emotions, and I've made a lot of money and I've also lost a lot of money. I mean, I've lost lifetimes of money in crypto, you know, from exploits, from like tons of stuff. So, you know, I've been in the game a while. I'm not the richest, but again, like I'm doing well too. It's a crazy thing because like you really, it's all learning, right? So like I say, you really have to go in, you know, a couple cycles and things do, you know, it's a funny thing because I'm always hearing like this time, like I saw some like big influencer say like this time is different. It's like this time is always different, right? Because everything changes. Like when I was first in crypto, it was a niche, right? There was like maybe 10,000 people on the Ethereum subreddit, you know, when I started like investing in Ethereum. It was very, very small. Nobody was talking about it. It was just this thing for like, you know, finance nerds, basically. And then, you know, after the 2017 run up, you started seeing like, you know, like celebrities talk about it and stuff. And then now you see like all of them getting into NFTs and all this other stuff. So the best thing the best example I could just say is it's like, it's very emotional. It's very, you know, you could be like elated and you could be in a lot of pain. And I've said it many times before, but you know, it'll age you, you know, if you let it. So you really have to like learn to fight emotions. You really need to make sure that you find a good group of people to surround yourself with in the crypto space that are going to help you make the right decisions and like look out for you, because sometimes you can have your own bias and stuff. And I've helped plenty of my friends out. I'm like, hey, you need to lock in this amount of profit. You need to, you know, like the charts like objectively not looking good, you know, maybe you can rebuy lower. Like you ideally want to get yourself into a situation in crypto, and you should be able to, you know, over, you know, like a 5-year span where you can't lose, right? You have enough that if they keep printing money and, you know, everything goes up, like you're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. If the prices crash down, you have enough cash to rebuy and, you know, get an even bigger position. So you want to get yourself into a position like that. And it's just recognizing, you know, like write down these things that are important, right? Like buy low, sell high. You know, if you have a certain amount that you want, when you get it, make sure that you take some profits, because it's just so easy to be like, oh, I want $2 million, right? And you get to 2 million and you're like, I want 10 million, or, you know, whatever the number is, you can just keep moving the goalpost. So you really need to be, I don't know, almost like robotic in it, because emotions do get involved. And I mean, you're seeing that now, right? On Twitter, like everybody is hurting. I mean, my group got like death threats when we were in Vegas, you know, like people are like super, super emotional right now. And, you know, it's crazy because it's like when people are getting the most upset, it's like, you know, like now is the time to start buying. You know, if the time, you know, when everyone was very, very happy, and one good thing, you know, I've heard people say is like, if you start screenshotting your portfolio, you might want to start like DCing out a little bit, right? Because if you're screenshotting your portfolio, you are saying, wow, look at this. Like, I feel good about where I'm at. So if you feel good about where you're at, then you should probably, you don't have to like dump your whole bag, right? But you could take a little bit of profits and be like, I'm happy with this. And there's something about just saying like, I'm content. Like this is a good amount. Remember, it's a long game, I'm in my 30s. I think Jim Rat, you're in your 20s. Like, dude, we got plenty of time. I mean, if you look at like the top investors and their age, I mean, this is like crypto is literally still in its infancy. We are,
Yes.
I've said it before, but like we are the families that, like the guys who invested in the railroad early, like and what they
It's
did.
crazy.
Like that is literally us. So you're talking about like there is the opportunity to become, billionaires in this industry. So it's like,
Why you, Wendy's? Were you prepared? Did you think to yourself as you went? Obviously, you grinded, went through the hell and back. Everyone remember that. Every
yeah,
single person that makes it in this was scraping peanut butter out of the bottom of the jar. I know it for
yeah, I
sure.
was.
That's how these guys operate. That's why they're in this position, guys. It's not because he did that. It's what he was thinking. It's the same thing I'm thinking now because somebody taught me. Guys, delayed gratification is the only way in crypto. 80% dips are part of the game. And volatility is the reason that
Shit,
we
dude,
make
90% dips are part of the game.
90
Like
in
when you're
Cardano,
playing
99.
yeah, I mean when you're playing in altcoins and stuff, like the thing is everybody thinks it's so easy. It's so easy. And that's what, I can tell when people talk to me, especially like in my personal life, they're just like, oh, so easy for you, so easy for you. But it wasn't, because before I bought anything like nice, I mean, I was a millionaire driving a Jetta, right? Like a base Jetta, not even like I had cloth seats and stuff, right? Imagine being like a multimillionaire and driving a base ass Jetta, right? My friends were getting new Dodge trucks. My friends were getting Mustang GTs and, all this stuff. And it's like, I easily could have bought one with cash, but I didn't,
Why?
and
Sorry to interrupt on that, but why? What was going on? Like, were you
I
like,
think,
hey, I
I
don't want
think,
to do this?
I think it's like, I think part of it is a lot of people that become like pretty successful, uh, were, poor. Like I was pretty poor growing up. Like there was times even in my early 20s where, like me and my girlfriend like didn't have enough, money for food really. And like I remember I had like friends that would, be like, oh, yo, let me bring over like a Hungry Howie's, like, and
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
like keep you over for a couple days. So I think there's always that. And then, watching, millions turn into nothing, like the last bear market and stuff. I think there's always that sense of like, it could go away, at some point and stuff if you make the wrong move. So uh, it's just like, in general, I try to be, smart with money. I do think that it's important to enjoy yourself, and I mean, like I spent 5 figures when I was out in Vegas. So like, obviously, like I'll throw money around from time to time, but in general, like day to day, I'm very happy, like living a mostly like frugal lifestyle. I do like to, celebrate from time to time and stuff, but I think it's important. Like when I was broke, I was happy.
Yes.
When I was when I was when I was like working, I worked 2 jobs, 80 hours a week. I was eating like couponed like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I think I got them down to like 15 cents a sandwich, because I was just like scraping, everything I could to invest. And I was happy. Like a lot of people said, like, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you. And I was like, don't feel bad for me. Like I'm doing this because I want to, not because I have to. And I know that, I guess they felt bad because they would be going out on the weekend and stuff, and I was working almost every single day. My one day off was Wednesday, and I would basically just sleep, because it was just like I was working so much. So I was like sleep, and
Trying to
while I
get
was like,
groceries, do laundry.
yeah, exactly. It was like just do everything that one day, work out, trying to stay in shape a little bit because it's stressful working that much and stuff. But
Did
yeah, I mean,
you had mentioned, I wanted to ask you
mhm.
two things. You had mentioned exploits. Can you think of a specific example without like, exposing something that you don't want to get exposed, but can you think of a specific example and just talk us through that just from a learning experience, right? Like I'm new,
Mhm.
probably some of the people who are going to watch, I'm sure a lot of people who watch this are going to be new. So
Mhm.
what was the circumstance and like, how did you get exploited? Like, how did you get scammed or whatever was the circumstance?
Well, okay, so like DeFi is a complex thing, right? So like it's essentially money Legos. And when Liquid Loans was came on my company's channel and we were interviewing them, I was telling them that I was like, hey, like how do you guys know that there won't be some exploitable thing? Because I've been in projects that have algorithmic stable coins, and I've done it all. I've done like multi-million-dollar yield farming. I've invested in algorithmic stable coins with returns. Like I understand like all facets of the market, node investing, like I get all that stuff. So in a couple instances where I lost like 6 million in 1 month, which was not fun. That well, I did lose that in 1 month, but I did make a very good friend out of it, and he works for me now. So because he lost pretty much everything, he sold his car and everything for that project, and yeah, it was really, really bad. So he was like completely out of money. It was his like first experience in crypto, and recently I was able to hire him, give him a job and stuff like that, and work in crypto, which is kind of cool. So at least something good came out of it. But essentially, this was like a DeFi platform, and essentially they had like a lending protocol, and you could liquidity provide. So you essentially, the way Uniswap V2 works is like you get basically liquidity providing token anytime you make a position in Uniswap, and you would be able to like stake those tokens on the protocol's website and essentially get rewarded in their token. And then when the final version of the lending platform went live, they apparently, like in alpha testing, a couple of people realized that you were able to like essentially like short the token, like basically so what you would do is you would sell the token because the token had gone up a lot. You would sell the token, you would get USDC or another stable coin. You would provide the stable coin as on the lending platform. And because you were providing like liquidity on their lending platform, they would give you more of the token, okay, and at a very high rate. It was paying very high rate, like to get people like interested in the protocol early. And so these guys they essentially like borrowed against the token, dumped the token, got stables that got more of the token, and then they just like infinitely pretty much dumped it. So it went down like 99%, and so everyone's like, at the time everyone's like, yo, what's going on? Is this just whale selling? Is this like an exploit? Is this a rug
That's what I
pull?
say. That's what I always say.
You're trying to figure out like what's going on. And luckily, like I got out in profit, but like from the top, man, I lost like.
Isn't it
6 million in 1
crazy,
month.
Wendy's, that we're talking to a guy right here, Sam Stoll, who in his own right has gone down so many rabbit holes of like intense information. So we've gone through this crypto thing, and yeah, it's been really good for a lot of us. But Sam's dove into all these holes in other realms, and he's just finding his way the last few months over to crypto. He's my personal trainer and my life coach now we're more so just we podcast together every day. So I guess that's our
awesome
relationship now. But back in the day, he saw me in my worst moments before I cared about $1. I just wanted to know how to get big muscles because I was so insecure.
Right.
Isn't that crazy though, how we all made it here?
Yeah, and I mean, it's still the thing is it's still early, right?
So
it's
early.
Like, there's going to be a lot of people that make it here. It's still not that easy, right? Like if you try to like onboard somebody into Hex, like it's not so easy that they can just boom, instantly do it. There's things that are going to make it much easier as time goes on. Maybe even that trust that's coming out, maybe that'll be a good thing, where people can you could just say, oh well, like you have a stockbroker, you can just go on here and buy this trust just like GBTC. They're like, oh yeah, I have an IRA, I could do that or whatever,
I had another question. So that the first part was the exploits. Thanks for sharing that. And then because I read through liquid loans like white paper, and I talked to one of the guys in the project, and then I'm like, damn, there's probably some way to exploit this shit. Like
I mean,
that was a thought. But
Mm-hmm.
how do you do your on this on a tangent? The other question I had: how do you do your living, like on a practical sense? Like, do you take a certain portion and have it in just a stable coin, and then a tiny fraction of the stable
These
coin?
guys have jobs. These guys have jobs and businesses.
Okay.
That I would assume generate their revenue as far as the ground money.
Well, both. I mean,
yeah,
all of us have enough like USDC to like live out a bear market, right? I personally, like I said, I mean, I've been in crypto a long time. I had a, not to dox myself, but I had like a top like 1,000, wallet, top hundreds or whatever of Ethereum. So I always kept a lot of Ethereum. And then, as far as like other projects go, like I have invested in like plenty of other things. I would take, like a little bit of profits and yeah, I mean, so there's multiple ways you can do it. So some people that are like very, very bullish on crypto or ecosystems, you might say like, all right, well, I come out with how much do you need to live, right? So let's say it's 5,000 a month. Let's say it's 10,000 a month. You could do that and then say, okay, how long do you anticipate a bear market to be? Let's just say 3 years, 4 years, like, so typically in Bitcoin's history, it's always been that even if you bought the top, within 3 years, you were in profit. So essentially 3 years, you should be back in a bull market. So if you wanted to be very conservative, you could say 4 or 5 years. So you get 4 or 5 years living expenses, right? You hold it in cash, you can earn yield on that. Just remember that like in bear markets, yields go down typically. So you have enough to where, you could sell 5,000, 10,000 a month and like live comfortably. And then the rest of your crypto can ride out. And the cool thing about Hex is that, like Hex will earn yield the entire time. So by the time that it is back up at all time high, your portfolio is at all time high. And it's like exponentially higher because you were earning, potentially 38% throughout those years that it was down. And so you don't have to stress. So you could do that. You could, and I have friends that do both. Like I have, friends that have, like they earn enough yield to, pretty much like live indefinitely off that. And then I have friends that are just like, they're so bullish, they just want to buy more. And I'm like, hey, look, just sell, like I had one of my friends recently, I was like, hey, sell $250,000. And then, you can live frugally off that because he really wanted to, just like keep going all in. But, that's how you can get wrecked like that. If you're retired, right? If you're living off crypto, like I live off crypto, right? If you live off crypto, you have to move differently. But yeah, as Jim Rat said, I do have a company. We do make fiat and stuff. And we do have, millions in reserves. So, I could live off that, but I typically like, we don't touch the company's money. We just keep, growing it and stuff. Like I personally don't want to take a distribution from the company until it's a billion, like, multi-billion-dollar company. And I think, pretty much all of us agree on that. So, because we even have people at the company who still work a normal 9 to 5. So nobody's really taking any money from it. The only person who's taking money is our one employee who just gets paid, regularly.
This is not advice to anyone. We're all pretty unconventional in our own ways. I'm not working at all right now. Not because I'm rich, guys, because I'm stupid. Guys, Sam, what Wendy's is also trying to preach, and what I like to preach is like, the work just starts when you get enough money. It just begins for me. Like if someone was, and I don't want any fucking money, guys, please. But if someone were to give me a lump sum of money right now, like something that would just mean another 5 hours of work per day for me, because all my plans would just be extrapolated. And then I'm doing things from the ground floor, right? I want to see this all the way through. I'm a young man. I don't have any bills. I'm happy as a fucking clam, guys. I have never been happier in my entire life, sitting in this dungeon,
I mean, that's good because I think a lot of people think like, oh, money's going to make them happy, and money doesn't make you
Wrong.
happy. It just accentuates how you already feel. So if you're depressed and you get rich, you're going to be really depressed because you're going to realize that money doesn't actually make you happy. You know, it's all fleeting, right? Like a thing can make you, you know, happy for a moment, but you realize like it's empty. It's not, that's not, you know, at the end of the day, what makes you happy. So
Max asked, like, when is it okay to treat yourself? So when you got to your millions and you
Mhm.
saw that coming in, and you're like, well, this happened like that. Is it gonna just go away? How long did you wait before you started? Because you had to kind of have
I
that
honestly,
consistency.
I personally waited years. But when is it okay? I mean, guys, you know, like, okay, so, you know, I was a nurse. I watched a lot of people die over my career. So, you know, you can't take it with you. At the same time, you do want to think about a future. You know, just think about this. Like, okay, like let's say I'm a watch guy, like, right? I like watches and stuff like that, but I still have never bought myself a luxury watch. And you know, why is that? I don't know. I mean, you know, it's like sometimes you want to like leave stuff to achieve, right? Like it's the same reason I haven't bought like anything like a Lamborghini or anything. You know, like I drive an Audi. You know, it's not a terrible car or anything. Not a, you know, but I like being able to like rent. Like I rented a Lamborghini Performante when I was in Vegas, and I rented an Urus when I was in Miami, and it made me feel like a kid, right? Like it, you know, it's those childhood emotions, those childhood dreams and stuff like that. But I don't ever want things to be like um, you know, like that you take for granted, right? Because and everything, like when I got my Audi, it was the nicest car I had, right? I came from like a base Jetta. It was like, you know, pretty crappy. And then I'm like, oh, I'm in this luxury car. It's got all these like amenities and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, eventually it gets to be whatever. Like you just don't care. It's just your hoopty. You know what I mean? So,
It dies
um,
off. I have a
Guys,
Tesla.
we
It
have
dies off.
a special guest. Took time from his morning, probably heard us having some just great gab back and forth, and he's the master of gab. Whales only. How are you doing, sir?
What's up, man? I didn't know I was a master of gab, but thanks for letting me know.
what up, bro?
Well, I
What's going
listened
on?
to you for 3 hours straight, so it feels like it to me.
Ah, got you. Yeah.
But you know, like to answer the question, it's like what is your goal, right? If your goal is like freedom in time, then don't sell yourself short for, you know, like a nice watch or, you know, some hats or some clothes, you know what I mean? Like go for your goal and don't sell yourself short. Now, if you get to the point where it's like you can achieve your goal, maybe you know, you take some off and you can, you know, achieve that goal and then go from there, right? It's not the end of the game when, you know, let's say you hit, you know, 2 million, and 2 million is enough for you to, you know, go to Thailand or something like that and live like a king in Thailand or whatever. That's not the end of the game. That's the beginning of the next phase of your life, right? You're still going to be able to turn that money into more money down the road. So it really just depends on what your goals are. I mean, everybody's completely different, right? Like if you have kids, maybe your goal is to spend more time with your kids. Maybe it's to, you know, pay for their college. You know, if you're single, maybe it's to go on, you know, a really nice vacation every year. I mean, it totally depends on you.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Completely agree. There's so many people will tie the belongings or material things to their happiness instead
Hmm.
of, and it's so cliche, but it's 100% true. That's why it's cliche that the journey, you got to be fucking happy along that journey. Otherwise, it's just, you
You
get
have to
there
be
and
sad. You have to be sad along that journey first. You have to, dude. I have yet to meet someone who is like, dude, my life was just fucking double lit, and now I'm here in hex.com. It's always dudes that were like, yeah, maybe there's some guys that stumbled upon, but it's always guys that were like, I've lost everything twice. I'm on my own. I'm a free thinker. I hate everyone I talk to.
I was eating
Those are
ramen
the
noodles.
Mexicans, and I want to let Wales have a moment. What do you think about what we're saying? What do you think about this, Sam? This is Wales. I don't think you guys have met. This is my personal trainer, Wales, and my new podcast buddy.
What's up, Wales? How you doing? Thanks for calling on. I appreciate you taking the moment. How did you get into crypto? What has your journey been like? I think he might have stepped away.
We'll wait. We'll wait for him. He probably stepped away.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted.
Oh, you're good.
I was talking to myself the whole time. I was saying, "What's up,
Right.
Sam? Nice to meet you." um, hold on, give me a second because this work is just annoying. But yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of knowledge in being broke and in suffering, right? And I think that that's the message that you guys are trying to relay. And I think it's important that people realize. I mean, I'm only this guy that I am today because of all the muck that I went through.
Yep.
That's it. Simply,
Or you
That's all.
wouldn't have the nuance understanding
I would not.
to be open-minded enough.
No, I would not have anything to say. I would just be some recluse like I used to be. I would just be some guy that would have no value to add. You know, I'm honestly trying to help people every single time I open my mouth. I am not, trying to get people wrecked and all this crazy shit. Like, I'm really trying to help, and that's all.
Isn't it crazy that that's right? Like that's the objective, probably of everybody here, I would assume. But when you listen to the media, that the rich person is the bad person. The rich person wants to step on people, and it's as soon as you talk to successful people, they're like, "Hey, how can I help you, man? Like, what are you doing in life, and who can I introduce you to? Who can I like? How can I share knowledge with you? Like, what do I? What can I?
You're
do
also
to
a
help you?"
6'4" absolute alpha stud in every room that you're in. So sometimes people probably wander over to you. But I know what you're saying. It's a great point.
I mean,
And
I've given away like 6 figures of money to, like help people out. I've paid for, like my homies growing up that didn't make the right decisions and are in prison. I've paid for their books. I've paid for their lawyers. I've helped
People don't
single
understand
moms pay
how
for
life is,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's real
I mean,
life.
because I've been there. I've
That's
been there.
real
Life
life.
is tough, man. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
getting
real life.
tougher, right? Like, look
Yeah.
at the gas prices and everything like that. That nothing
It's
will make
about to
you
get realer.
more poor. Yeah, exactly. Like, man, I remember, being a college pleb when, like the last recession was going on. Shit sucked. Man.
2008.
Shit
That's
sucked.
when I was in
Yeah.
college too.
Yeah, man,
2007,
it was,
2008, 2009. Yup.
it was fucking terrible, bro.
It was rough, bro. I had to go. I had just got out the military, and I had to go back to work as a civilian, bro, because there was no jobs, and I was an adult. I had no option. I was not some kid in college with mommy and daddy be, taking care of me and shit.
Right.
I had no choice, and you got to make money. I mean, working at a store or some nonsense like that ain't gonna cut it. So I had to go wherever the money was, and that's where it was. So these are the kinds of things that happen in an economy. And a lot of people don't even take those choices. They just steal and rob and all other kinds of shit.
Let me ask you guys and Scott as well. So growing up, like I wasn't in like a horrible day. I was in middle
Jim
class.
Rat Crypto. My name is Jim Rat Crypto. My name is.
Oh yeah, I don't know
Jim
who
Rat
I was
Crypto.
referencing there, but we've got Swissy over there, but we're going to ask this question too. Growing up, like I don't like asking my parents for help, and they're fine, but I wouldn't I was like, I'm not going to ask them for help. Did you guys go through the same thing? You're like, I'm going to figure this out for myself. And by the choice of, hey, I need to figure this out for myself, you actually put yourself in that spot, like at a deeper, like hole, so to speak. But through that journey, you become so much stronger than you would otherwise. Because I know that was my journey. I'm curious.
I'm transitioning right now, so I can kind of let people know because it's literally what's happening to me in this moment. So I quit my job, and this is not good advice, guys. This is the worst advice, and I am a weird mother effer, guys. Please do not do anything that I'm doing. But I couldn't do my job and learn effectively anymore. I had to wake up at 3 a.m. I was dead tired. I was doing physical work. And I'm telling you, my body was shutting down, and I had a decision to make. Like, you either can stream and do stuff with your friends and be cool and have fun, or you can work and do this stuff. And I did make a certain amount of money, and I am living on $800 a month, guys. And that's all I need to be happy. So please do not think that I'm hurting. I've made my life over the last couple of years, so I don't need to spend any money. But anyway, my parents, everything they said to me, everything they taught me, I am just learning that I have to not listen to anyone about anything, right? Like this is all what I'm going through right now. It has nothing to do with my parents as far as where they're at,
but I had to take my life into my own hand. And because if I'm going to be all the way 100 transparent, my parents are extremely wealthy. And not extremely wealthy, they're normal wealthy, right? Like just not like crypto wealthy, not like, making hundreds of thousands of X's, but making probably top 1% money, whatever that is. And great hardworking business people, just grinding it out like everyone else. I was pampered my whole life, but I had a drug problem. And this is where things got interesting, is I could not stop doing drugs no matter what was going on. So that was what propelled me into the darkness. Everyone is propelled into the darkness for another reason. Obviously, my parents at some point were like, this guy's crazy. Like, I'm getting arrested and shit. Like, they can't really, I'm a grown person. And I had to decide. One day I prayed to God this morning. I don't know if God exists or whatever, but I prayed to God. I said, I will never act like that again. And I need to take control of my life right now. And ever since that moment, my life has been completely different. And just since 3 weeks ago, and I quit my job, I finally feel the full release of 100% power in my own life. Although obviously the government can probably come over here and shut me down if they wanted to. But like, I feel power as far as I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what comes in. I am going to learn and going to project what I want now. I have the confidence to do this now for me, whatever this is. Sorry for lambling.
No, there's
Like
power
me
in
personally,
that, though, right?
yeah, like me personally, my parents, my dad essentially got scammed when he was probably in his like 30s or so. Like he bought like a bunch of like fake gold or something. And so like after that, he was like done with investing, right? He was just like, oh, I got like finessed, and he was just like, I'm done. Like I'm never gonna invest again because he lost some, I think it was like probably like 30,000, but at the time in the 70s or 80s, like that, it's a shit ton of money. So pretty much after that, he just put like probably like the minimum in his like 401k, and that was that. So like we never had money growing up, and I grew up like right outside New York City, and so there was a lot of money around, but my family didn't have none. Like I had friends in school that dads drove Porsches and stuff, and so you see a lot of money, so you're close to it, but you can't touch it, right? Like it's just at a grasp, and I wanted that. And since I was a little kid, I always said like I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to and my mom would just be like, oh, stop, don't say that. Like she would get annoyed when I would say stuff like that, but I didn't even know what I was doing at the time, but I was manifesting. I was saying that stuff, and I believe that, man. I really truly believe in manifesting. I believe like you say that stuff, you believe it'll you'll make the decisions to where those things will come true. And you can ask a lot of like championship fighters and stuff. They said they were going to be champions way before they were champions. Their first fight, they were like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And when you believe it, and it's something that basically like becomes part of your DNA, then every decision you make, every time I picked up overtime, when I was tired, when I was waking up, I'm listening to motivating music going to work. What I'm saying? Like all those things that I was doing was to achieve my goals. So yeah, like my parents had nothing to do with that at all. But I did, and it was enough for my whole family because, at one point my dad's, he got sick with COVID and everything, and he wasn't able to work anymore. And I'm like, like in my family, we didn't really talk about finances because we knew ain't nobody got nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, what's to talk about? But he had like 200 grand that he saved up over 40 years. And I said, like at the time I had been, learning finance and crypto enough. And I was like, yo, just give me the 200. And I made my parents multimillionaires, and, they're retired now and they're comfortable and they're good, and, yeah, but I did that. Like it had nothing to do. It definitely had nothing to do with them.
That's awesome. Sorry, go ahead, Will. That's awesome.
No,
That's
I was just saying salute. I mean, there's not much more to say to that. I mean, that's great. That's, I think, everybody's goal if they see that they need to make some type of stride in life, right? I think that's why we all gravitate ultimately towards crypto, because we understand what's possible to some degree.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Literally what I was writing, I journal every day and write down my goals and stuff. And literally it's like, hey, paying off my mom's house and retiring her is like on my
this is
goals.
the stuff we like on this channel, guys. This is what I talk to Sam about every day for the last 5 years. The same exact conversation. We're just doing it live now. And Wales always used to say shit like that. He's like, I was just talking to homies at my desk anyway, and then we started going live and it felt the same. And I've always liked that kind of live stream. Like, me and Sam have been talking for hours on the phone for years. You know what I mean? And we've been having these same conversations, and I didn't think they had any real value. I mean, I knew they had value to me, but like, I didn't know that I had more value than the majority of people within that field. Within that field.
It's just a realization. I mean, let me ask you guys this. I'm curious on your guys' opinion. Would you say that people are more at an advantage now than ever before, or more at a disadvantage now than ever before? I personally think we're more at an advantage than ever before.
100%. Because now, like, I had this conversation with my aunt because she was saying, you know, like, oh, privilege, you know, talking about, you know, your privilege and all that stuff.
That racism nonsense.
Yeah. And I was just like, well, look, yes, there are some privileges, right? Like, we're in a richer country, right? If we were in like a village in Africa, you know, you don't have access to the internet. Yeah,
it would be a whole different
conversation.
Yeah,
there's levels to it for sure.
Yeah.
But if you're in America and you can get a smartphone and you can
just like
you can go to
everybody else.
McDonald's and get on public Wi-Fi or whatever,
Dunkin'
like, you can
Donuts,
access
Burger
YouTube.
King.
Yeah, exactly. You can access YouTube. You can access financial information, and like, most of, you know, what I learned in my free time at work. And I remember this, like, I was making, you know, $12 an hour. And I remember, you know, before I was a nurse, I was an EMT, and the nurses were like, why are you, you know, because they would see me looking up like finance stuff, and they'd be like, why are you even looking at that? You're making like $150 a day, or, you know, $200 a day, like, you know, before taxes. Like, you don't have nothing to invest, right? If I was investing $5 a day, I was lucky. And I was like, I don't have money to invest today, but watch me grind, you know. And I kept grinding in school. I got more degrees, you know, and I've made more money every single year of my life, you know, probably from like 25 on, you know, like, so I got
a similar story like that.
Yeah, it pays dividends, you know what I mean? Like, literally,
you got to put in the work,
figuratively. Yep.
Yeah, you got to literally put in the work, and that's what you did, bro. That's all. That's literally all it is. And I have a similar story. I just put in the work.
So people think that Sam looks like we call him the high T Gary V. He's a high T Gary V. He's a 6'4" Giga Chad with peak privilege. Chad says 6'4" Giga Chad version of Gary V is peak privilege.
That's funny.
And he's the nicest guy ever. It's funny. It's like, I walk around. We always talk about the differences between the way we walk around and interact with the people, because I'm 5'8", 170 pounds. Like, I'm not a huge dude. Yeah, if I have a tank on, people usually don't want to hang around me, like, because I'm really like ripped. But this man's actually large. Like, this man can actually beat you into the ground. But it's funny because my whole life I've always been in defense mode a little bit, because I have been attacked. Not like all the time, but like, you know, when you're small going up through life.
Yeah, people try to test you, bro.
Exactly. So I always was edgy. He always taught me, like, by hanging out with him and talking to him so often, he was always like, dude, in our experience relating to people when we're walking around in public and at the gym is so different. He's like, no one's ever bothered me before. I'm like, everyone's bothered me before, dude.
And it's crazy. It's crazy because you'll go through, and I used to live in Massachusetts for a year or so, and I was working in banking, and I go in there and I'm wearing a suit, and I was just bought a car, and I was like coming in after I got out of work to register the car so I could get like insurance and all that jazz. And I go in and I was like, hey, I need to register my car, and they don't even ask for my ID. They literally don't ask for my ID. Like, a white man, you know, over 6 foot, like, I work out, and you just present yourself in that way. And I'm not saying that's what I was trying to do. It's just like,
just what happened.
That's where my luck is. I just happened to be born in America, right? And I happen to be fucking white. Like,
just fit the mold.
Yeah. Imagine if people didn't look further into your life. to not see what you've been preaching for the last 10 years, but they'll just look at you and say, oh, Sam, he gets whatever he wants. And you're sitting there like, are you fucking kidding me, you piece of shit? Like, I've been going since 3 a.m. every single day for the last decade. Like, and that's really what it is. Sam, when's the last time you went out and had a drink and partied with your buddies?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. It's been a long time.
And I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but this is the type of guy that I hang out with. This is just like my niche. Like I've always been like self-improvement, like do everything, the little things right. Like that's kind of what I love. And Sam is like God tier, like micro habits. Like if this dude has like 8 vegetables with every meal to make sure his micronutrient intake is proper.
But though that was my thing, right? Like that was.
But you're a dope. That's like insanity awesome in that way.
But
I'm sure you guys did too.
But let me interject because Sam is like my counterpart in his field. Just like what you do is what you do all day, what I do is what I do all day. And what I've been doing for the past 10, 12, 15 fucking years is finance and economics and geopolitics. And I've been living it, right? Because I was in the military. I was at war. So it's not like I'm speaking from a book. Like this has been my life because it's had to be. So this is why I'm so prophetic or whatever the fuck people want to call it, is because I'm speaking from knowledge, because this is how shit works. It's not how you want it to. It's just how it is. So that's it's the same thing, really. What are
your thoughts briefly on like what's going on right now? Like what do you had that first-hand experience. I was a contractor in the military, but like I was a contractor in the military, which is 100% different.
Yeah, it's one step removed because when you're inside, you're operationally aware because you have to be, right? Because when you're somewhere, you have to understand why you're there. Otherwise, you might die. And that's a real statement, right? That's not me saying it just because it's something to say because I've been to war. That's honestly true. In fact, I'll share a story. When I was first deployed, I was 18 and we were going outside the wire. This must have been probably like my 3rd or 4th mission going outside of the camp. And luckily, it wasn't my first because it turned out that the superiors that I was with, and I was just an 18-year-old kid. I was a private, I was an E2. I was nothing. However, at war, none of that shit matters, right? Because what ended up happening is that the people that were supposed to know where the fuck we were at and where the fuck we were supposed to be going did not know. So I had to figure it out on the fucking fly in the middle of Baghdad. And I'm talking about when it's like brand new, shit is hot. So that's not my responsibility, right? Like I'm just some kid. I'm just some 18-year-old kid in the middle of Baghdad, just minding my own fucking business, trying not to get shot. And now I have to do somebody else's job because they're not fucking prepared. And
that's like giving you a superpower in a sense today. From what you've gone through, though, in the way I see the world.
Yes, accurate, because guess what? That taught me that I had to be self-sufficient. Because what if I was just another one of the crew that had no idea
where the fuck I was here right now?
I might not be here. Yeah, I might not be. Yeah, that's right. Right. So it's taking those kinds of things into account, man. That they shape your fortitude, your attitude, and your desire. I didn't think I was going to live to be past 18, but yet here I am, 18 times 2 plus 1.
So how can I got to run in a couple minutes. I know Scott or Jim Rat Crypto is going to continue, but how can we bring value? Like, what is something that the community, like, what are you guys looking for? Is there somebody you want to connect to? Is there a project you want to push? I know, Wendy, you had mentioned your business. What do you want to plug, or what do you? And go ahead, Randy, you can start. I'm sorry, Wendy, you can start.
You just want to know what they're doing, right?
Well, no, I want to know how I can help. Like, what can I do?
Oh yeah, no, I kind of want to know.
Oh.
I'd like to know too.
Who do you need to connect to? Is there customers you need to connect to that we can direct to you? Is there like you need an employee or you need this problem solved? How can we provide value? As in myself, as well as Swissy over here, but also like anybody who watches this, like how could they provide value to you guys for sharing your story, taking your time out of your day?
That's a good question.
That's a hard question. Hexicans don't get asked that question too.
Yeah, that's a good question though. I think that question should be the premise of every stream, right? That's how I've always perceived it. I mean, that's just my opinion, but that's how I've always approached every stream. I mean, I've always thought that's why everybody loved Richard Hart streams. So that's how everybody approached streams, because he's just a wealth of knowledge and information that's practical and applicable in some way, shape, form, or another. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing that I like to provide. And I think if you want to help or support, educate others. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Share the wealth. To me, the real wealth is knowledge. That's what I would like.
Everything's just word of mouth, right? Like if you like something that somebody does, you talk about it, you let people know, and that's really it. I wouldn't want people to like, shill something that they didn't find value in. You know what I mean? Like you gotta like what somebody's doing, and if you like what somebody's doing and you're passionate about it, right? Like we are with Hex, then it sells itself, right? Because people see that you're enthusiasm about it, even with price down, right? It's like, this is the time to get people in, right? Like you see a lot of people that are, like really hurt or whatever. They don't they don't want to talk about Hex. They don't want to talk about, stuff, but it's like, oh, that's when it's like really the best time to DCA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to get people in at 40, 50 cents, or do you want to get them in at 10 cents or sub 10 cents? Like it's better for them. Right. So,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, just being, part of the community, and, if you see stuff that we're doing and you like it, awesome.
Never sell out. That's what I'm providing to, I'm telling all the guys, like, not as far as I'll never make money doing anything, but I will never shill something I don't believe in or I'm not learning about.
Let's talk about charging people for services. I think people get that shit confused. I think there comes a point in time when it is okay for somebody to charge for their time if they're going out of their way to go out of their way for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Like,
if you don't like what somebody's doing, that's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to partake in it. Don't participate or whatever. But it's funny because like I heard somebody talking shit about like selling merch, like, oh, these OGs have to sell merch. But it's funny because when I was in Vegas and I had on like Hex merch, like literally people will come up to me like, hey man, I've seen that design around. What is that? Is that a crypto? Like, right. And then boom, like I'm onboarding people. So it's like,
that's it.
And for what? Like, a 20, 30, $40 shirt or sweater or whatever. Or like a hat.
That shirt.
Yeah. And it's like, what if the person that you get in puts $100,000 in?
Exactly. What if that's the next like, person to take us to $1?
Yeah, correct. Exactly. Like the funny thing is like you look at Crypto Heartbeat, right? He's got like 10,000 subs now and stuff like that, and he's putting out a good message and stuff. The guy was literally onboarded by like a late night
TV ad. Yeah, commercial. I heard about that. The only guy in history.
Bro, when I seen that commercial, I was like, oh, he wrong for this one because this is garbage. but guess what? He got Crypto Heartbeat with that one. So it's the same thing, with merch and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it's people like, everybody's a hater, you know what I mean? But it's like when everyone wants to talk about, oh, this person doing this person doing this, but we see it. Like I see it that it does bring adoption and stuff. So yeah, they can stay mad, whatever.
Exactly.
One thing that I found is very valuable to me that probably if people are looking for onboarding or connecting with more people and just creating more relationships, Facebook groups are still underpriced, or like there's still so much opportunity in Facebook's group. I bought a Facebook group for $1,000 and like I get paid every single month from that Facebook group, like $500 every single month just comes in from that Facebook group. But
can you start that over from the bottom so I can hear that clearly? I just want to make sure I got all that.
So I am in 200 plus Facebook groups because I just work from home, right? I sit in my desk. And there was a Facebook group that is very, very valuable in terms of the interactions. There's not a shitload of spam on there. And it was relevant to the stuff I was putting out around fitness stuff. And I reached out to the guy like 4 or 5 times throughout the last year, and he just didn't get back to me. So I was like, hey, I'll give you $1,000 to buy your group. He's in Brazil. So he sold it to me, and now I charge somebody to like a brand to put their shit in there that I personally use. Like I already use this brand stuff. And I was like, hey man, I got this Facebook group. It's really aligned with what you're doing. You want to put an ad in there? Charge you $500 a month. And so he pays me $500 a month to put it in there. But the thing about it is there's so much attention there that there's no gatekeeper on that. So it's easy to start conversations. It's a hangout. It's like that convention for Hex, right? Where you get together like-minded people who have beautiful conversations around things that you might not otherwise have. And it's awesome for connecting with people. Like, where you don't see that necessarily in YouTube as much. Yes, it's awesome, but it's a completely different vibe.
Dynamic.
Yeah, like we're having this conversation, but there's
everybody isn't having it. Yeah. Everybody can't interject and give their 2 cents, whereas in that environment, everybody can, as long as they wait their turn or whatever.
Yes, very valuable. Hey, I actually have to run. I appreciate
Been a
both
pleasure,
of you guys
brother.
coming out.
Plug yourself first.
Yes,
Give
nice
a 30
meeting.
second plug.
If anybody wants to learn more about like the fitness related stuff, I do, or I also have the crypto related channel. It's a channel that I've been commenting on. You can reach out there or on
Are they
Twitter.
Separate?
They are separate.
Oh, okay.
Channels.
I see the one that Sam Dot stole, and then I see the other one, and I just think maybe I forgot there was a dot. But they're probably just two.
Trying to prevent what happened to Richard Hart, because I already had his channel deleted, so I segregated them so that hopefully there's less of a chance that both of them would.
Freedom fighters need 10 plus accounts these days.
Yeah,
if you don't have
crazy.
10 plus accounts with 10K subs, it's like they will find a way to shut you down.
Screw you, yeah.
Yes.
Sam, thank you so much. Sam
you,
stole
guys.
on
I
everything,
appreciate you
guys.
guys.
He's going to be on here
Nice
every
meeting
day
you.
with me for the first hour.
Yeah, pleasure, Sam. Seriously,
Thank
pleasure.
you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, Sam is a really good piece. Like 2 months ago, Wales, Sam did not know one thing or own any crypto or have one coin. Now he's doing white paper research.
Now
He's
he has a
making
channel.
videos while he's reading the white paper,
Right.
talking about, asking questions, having dudes on his show. He's balls deep. He's a hex staker now. Guys, find these dudes that mean something to you first. Not my brother and sister, the people that don't really care to listen to me, but the friends that you really have tight bonds with, the ones that you can talk to. It's important to get them on the right team
100%.
if they're willing to listen.
I've gotten a couple of my college friends into Hex, man, and they're happy that I did. I got a old coworker from my first job out of college that I put into Hex because he just and back then, it was Bitcoin, right? But people didn't understand it. And the funny thing is that he actually reached out to me after I found Hex. So it was one of those serendipitous things. And it was just crazy. But you're right. You got to reach out to those people that are willing to listen, that actually want the information. Don't try to fight against the current. It's a losing fight every time,
Because they just, like we said earlier, how we were doubling everything back. You can't have the nuance understanding, and you need to know that. Whoa! Hey, Wendy's, move your phone to the side. Just flip it to the side.
Oh, yeah. Put it sideways, bro. It'll look better. Because
it's a sideways view, and then it'll be like clean,
you got the
crystal
phone
clear.
thing going.
Ooh,
There you go. Bam. For the win.
Ooh. And where do I go to get that right this moment?
Hexmerch.com.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to say something. Other than the shields on the wall, I own 0 Hex merch.
You got to get some, bro. I literally
refuse.
just dropped another $300 and something in my own damn store.
No, I know. That's
somebody got to pay the bills, Wendy's.
Bro, I'm telling you. Motley drops thousands of dollars. He's crazy.
Oh, Motley's a beast, man. He don't care.
Yeah, he's crazy. But
Motley, can
man,
you sponsor me and I'll freaking make sure everyone knows about it. I just want a t-shirt.
Yeah, we can do that.
I just want a t-shirt.
We'll hook you up, bro.
Yo, I talk about hexmerch.com almost every stream.
Yeah.
Who doesn't buy Hex stuff from there? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
I just don't
definitely.
buy anything except peanut butter and jelly.
Well, you got your reasons, sir.
But yeah, honestly, I've
Twisty.
seen that if I wear that stuff out, people ask about it and stuff, and then I can, it leads to conversations, So yeah, it's an icebreaker, right? Maybe somebody, maybe you have a pulse chain shirt or something like that. And someone's like, "Hey man, I've seen that on Twitter. What is that? Can you know what I mean? It's an
Just
icebreaker.
like that.
If you don't have something like that on, you just have on normal clothes. No one's gonna come and talk to you about crypto, right? So if you want to be somebody that's making connections, onboarding people, there is no easier way. You got to have clothes anyway, right?
Yeah.
Just remember, guys, when you see someone that has an awesome project that sells super cool stuff, instead of saying "fuck you," say "thank you." And that's how you should do that, because these are dope ass shirts. I see brand wearing everything. Everyone's having a good time, guys. Who the fuck is making their living making t-shirts? I mean, probably not any of the Hexicans. Guys, we're spreading the fucking word. We could do a million different things. I could make a dog collar.
You know what's funny? The people usually saying that kind of shit don't know the first thing about running an operation. You know, everything costs money. Nothing is free. So even if
it's also funny because
somebody,
they're like, we don't want you to sell Hex, but then you have a business where you got fiat coming in.
You can make income off of it. Right?
It's
Well,
like,
I want my
like,
cake and I want to eat it too. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Wendy's, don't work and don't sell Hex, you fucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just live on the street.
Okay. I guess I'll just die. I guess I'll just die, guys.
Just die at your desk
you.
and tweet.
Thank you.
Crazy.
Yo, it just makes no sense. Yo, that's why, look, I don't know if you guys know, but Sunday I did I did a stream Sunday and I started talking just about this issue, because people just need to mind their business. And if they're not adding value, we need to start calling them out, because the nonsense isn't going to stop until we stop it. Because guess what? Outsiders are looking at us, man. We're important. We're valuable now because we're laying down a foundation that nobody else has given the rat's ass to lay down. And we're volunteering and doing it ourselves. I mean, look at what the crypto space has been until now. It's been a joke. Yep. So, you know, we're doing the right things. It's just, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And as we all know, delaying gratification is everything. So,
well, has anyone came at you sideways about what you I don't, obviously people have come at you sideways, like, but I had a friend of mine let me give you the example and see if you can relate. So I had a friend of mine today, a close friend from my whole life and stuff, and he messaged me, and this was like the first time someone mentioned something about what I was posting from like my real life. Yeah. And he was just like, why are you spamming this fluff? This is not good technology, blah, blah, blah. And it made me feel so upset. I knew he was wrong, right? Like I wasn't like, oh, like, let me explain to you. But I felt so bad. I'm like, oh my God, people think that I'm fucking out here being a fucking fool. But you know what I mean? Like, but I know I'm detached from that now. But like, as a younger man, like, I'm still trying to get away from that, like the emotional response. Like, although I can carry on with my work, no problem. It's like I still have these emotional responses to like the ego of what I'm doing. I have to believe in myself when other people are kind of telling me not.
Well, it's like when people troll you, right? People are trolling, and I don't mean a troll in a funny way. I mean like people that are literally trying to really just be haters, right?
Right. They're just trying to get reactions out of you, right? Like, and we've seen that. There's literally people that literally make their whole online persona is just about drama and doesn't provide any value. You ain't learning nothing from them. They're just out there just wasting space.
Yeah, and then the problem with that, you know what it is? It's the issue is that they're pushing away newcomers. They're pushing away newcomers because people from outside the community look in. You know, people don't always just make accounts to come on Twitter because of Hex. Sometimes they already are on Twitter, and people need to learn that shit matters too. You know, so if you see somebody getting out of line and not adding value, because that's what it's about. It's about adding value. You know, point it out. We don't need them around here. We really, really don't. And it's not going to stop until we take a serious stance on it, because it's not about controlling what others do. It's about controlling the nonsense that others do, because that's two totally different things. Right. And I think we're all adult enough to know the difference. Like when a motherfucker talking about somebody else's pockets, you need to get that commie shit out of here.
Yeah, get that.
Your tweets have been on fire.
Bro, I'm just done. I was
on
quiet.
Another freaking level.
Crazy.
I have like I just put my notes on for Whales. I had to because I couldn't miss any.
Yo, it's just crazy because Wendy's, how long has this nonsense been going on? At least a month, bro.
Yeah, it's been going on too long. I mean, it's so funny because like I've always like throughout my whole life, I've noticed that like if you have a hater mentality, it literally slows your progression, because 100%. You're basically saying like, and I can't get that. These guys are stopping me from getting that, instead of saying, how can I get that, right? So like, Yashi posting his like Louis V bags or whatever. If you're hating,
literally
like,
not trying to find a solution, bro. Literally.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why don't you just ask like, yo, man, how'd you get to the point where you could waste like thousands of dollars on a sweater? And guess
Ask
what?
a question,
He's the dude
man.
that would be like, yo, let me one-on-one with you and let me chop it up real quick. Like he'll
People
break it
don't
down for you.
understand, bro. People don't understand.
Like
It's so crazy.
like we give our time, you know what I mean? All of us give our time. And like I don't, all the time. Like I don't love coming on here and doing all this stuff. I don't do it
I
for
ask you all the time,
me.
and you always
You
go.
do,
Yes,
and
I know.
I don't, bro. Yeah, a lot of people ask me a lot, and it's like,
Yeah, of course, brother, because
it
you
just
speak what people want to hear, man.
yeah, but it takes something out of me. I feel like every time because it's like
Mm.
the haters and stuff like it just annoys me. And
Yeah.
like I try to be positive. I try to but it's like that stuff does bring me down and stuff. So it's like
Yeah, it's a little
when you got a
demoralizing, of
cup
course.
and you're pouring into everybody's cup, like it leaves you with less.
Drink,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so it's like
100%.
you gotta make sure that you got some reserve in there. And I wish I could. I'm glad that a lot of people are, taking up the mantle and like you got new generations of streamers and everything like that.
Yep, we do.
Yeah, but yeah, it's hard out here for an OG.
It's hard out here in general, and this is
It
why
is. It is.
it doesn't have to be. This is my opinion.
It
My
doesn't. It
opinion,
doesn't,
it
bro.
doesn't have to be, right? And I think all of us could agree with that. And this is why I'm saying, like, yo, if we know this ain't got to be this hard, then we can stop it because it's on us. We are the ones that are allowing it to permeate.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I do remember. So it's kind of funny, right? Because I remember the last bear market, and it basically like how Hex is exactly how Ethereum was. There was so much toxicity, and I mean, you go look at ETH Trader back at like in 2018 and stuff. Like look at the dailies and like read the comments. I mean, it's basically like Hex Twitter right now. But it's funny because I'm thinking like. When I got into Hex, I'm like, man, everyone's so uplifting. The community like really is bonded together, especially in the early days.
Yeah.
And then lately it's been so bad. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I guess the reason it was the community was the best in crypto, quote unquote, was because our chart was up and to the right. Because now that the chart is going down, and that's opportunity for everybody that's not a whale, right?
Correct.
Like it's like everyone's like ripping each other to shreds.
Opportunity of a
crazy.
lifetime, not financial advice.
And it's funny because it's like the most of the smaller fish are the ones that are crying the most. Like I heard guys that are like, "Oh, I'm down $5,000." Like those are the guys that are like crying. There's
like, what?
Do you? Yeah, exactly. It's like,
and they're not staked. It's like
point,
yeah, I don't even care about people that aren't staked. They're irrelevant to me. I'm not even addressing them.
Day one,
if we drop,
guys said to stake. So
if we drop worst case scenario, right? Like worst case scenario, we drop 1 cent or sub 1 cent. That means we're probably washing out a lot of these whales that have 100 million plus coins.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good for you. If you're working a 9 to 5, that's an opportunity, bro. Like that means that like somebody with a 9 to 5 that earns like a decent income could potentially become a dolphin. I mean. Like if the chart kept going up and it was creeping up, you have zero chance. You would never be a dolphin.
You
would never become a shark. It's not happening. So it's just crazy to me that people like you see an opportunity like this, and like look, when Ethereum dropped to $88, that was another opportunity of a lifetime. How many people took advantage of that? How many people were around buying $88 Ethereum? Not many. Not many. I was here for it.
I wasn't, and I regret not doing it too.
And you knew about it because I heard you talk about it. You knew about it, so it's just like it. That's just how it is, man. And it is hard. I mean, I'll be honest. Like I was in Hex day one when we had that 90% dip in the first month. I fucking like slammed my computer, like my keyboard, and I was like, "Fuck," and I walked away for like a month. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas if I would have bought at that time, I'd be the number one holder.
That's right.
I'd be the number one holder in Hex.
And there's a lesson in that, folks.
There is. It's
a huge lesson in that.
And guess what?
That's the same shit that happened to me, bro. That's why I miss Ethereum.
Yep.
That's why I missed Ethereum, right? Everybody had the chance to buy Ethereum at the low before it ripped to fucking thousands of dollars.
Yep, and it's like it's the same thing every time, man. It's the same. It's the
Exactly.
same thing every time. It's the same, but it's different. Like and
Well,
it's
not
like
different,
it's just
really.
hilarious.
Think about it.
Well, like there's things that change, but it is the same, right?
Yes.
There's things that change, but it is the same. And
That's
it's
right.
like
That's the
these
way I
people
see
just
it.
won't. Yeah, how many people like, bro? I was hearing all the time, like Ethereum. Like, so in the beginning, it was Ethereum is a pre-mined shitcoin. Okay, they said like
Yes, that's
Ethereum is a
right.
scam.
Remember that? Yeah,
Ethereum,
yeah,
yeah, Ethereum is a scam. It was pre-mined. It's a
yeah.
scam by Bitcoin, right? And
Yep,
then
yep.
that narrative eventually went away. I don't ever hear that shit anymore. I never
No,
see anybody call Ethereum
they
a
tried to
pre-mined
say that
shitcoin.
about Hex. They tried to say it about Hex
Yeah,
that it was
exactly. It's the
pre-mined.
same thing, right? Like Hex is a Ponzi scheme. Hex, eventually that's gone. So then when Ethereum dipped, it was like, oh, Ethereum's dead. It's never coming back. Like I can't remember who called it. It might have been Max Kaiser, but he was like, it's a double-digit shitcoin. Double-digit shitcoin. He called it a
We
double-digit
got a
shitcoin.
whole
It's
lot of
like,
those too, right?
yeah, and exactly. And it's like it's the same fucking thing every time, right? So Max Kaiser calling Ethereum a double-digit shitcoin. You have Eric Wall saying, "Oh, Hex is Ponzi economics, and it's never going to make a new all-time high. It'll never make a new all-time high." That's a pretty fucking bold statement. You
Yeah.
know, that is a pretty fucking bold statement because you look at something like Cardano. Cardano went down 98, 99% the last market cycle. Cardano didn't have
That
smart
shit was a
contracts. It didn't have
buy.
shit.
Let
It
me
didn't
tell you
have
something.
shit.
Let me tell you something. And I don't ever talk about this. And please don't lose your train of thought. Before I bought Hex and I found Hex and I started looking into crypto again, I had already known about ADA because it's been around that long. So I looked at ADA and it was below a cent, I think, at the time, if I remember correctly. Because this was like November, October 2020. I'm sorry, September, October 2020, because it was before Hex for me. And I remember thinking to myself, damn, I should probably buy this shit because they got all these damn zeros. And it wasn't that many, but it was enough to make me think that. And it went all the way to $2. I could have taken all that money and put it right in the Hex, but I didn't do it.
Bruh, I mean,
But I ended up finding Hex.
yeah,
But
it's amazing.
we'll
I
see.
mean, like even that, just like M's, bro. Like if
Yeah,
people dollar costed when it was
that's
down,
it.
from 80%, you would have made M's. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I
Uh,
did not do
the
that, bro.
Yeah, it's the thing is like some of these coins now ADA in the future, I they've really fumbled the bag.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, it's a
that's
different
not
story
something I'd be
now,
buying.
right?
Yeah, I would not be
Yeah,
buying now.
yeah.
But like something that's like blue chip that's like not going anywhere, like something that's like Richard Hart backed, bro, that's a DCA, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling
Literally.
to me. It's mind-boggling to me, you know.
Literally. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it's like, well,
Some
look,
people are just not going to make it.
if you make all these gains, what are you gonna do with it? First of all, most people don't know what to do with these gains, right? And and
Hmm.
and this is why you have people building certain things in the community because the idea is, hey, we are not the people to be giving ourselves financial advice. Let's find the people that have been doing this their whole career that we can trust and understand what we are trying to do as individuals. So, that's literally what MCA went on and did. That's all. It ain't doing shit else. Right. So, with that in mind, do we really want lottery winners in this community or do we want people that are going to learn the value of what they own so that they can continue to support the ecosystem such that they continue to support themselves along with the rest of all the older holders? Because we all, right, rise and tide lifts all boats.
Hmm.
And that's the
Yeah, I've
truest
always
thing.
said that in the beginning, like,
Hmm.
crypto is like it, it's reliant on the whales, right? Like if the whales,
Yeah.
okay, so if you see $1 million sell, right, everyone gets mad, right?
Yep.
Fuck this guy,
Yep.
fuck them, blah 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 blah. Now, of course, you do see people that are like buying Lamborghinis and stuff like that, right? Like
Hmm.
that is like it does nothing. It really does nothing for Hex. But what if they buy like a share of real estate investment trust or something, something that's like paying them income, and now they
Dividends.
can use
Yeah.
that income that is
To buy
more
X.
than, yeah, exactly, that is more than before. So it's a net positive buy pressure on Hex
Correct.
because at the end of the day, if you're diversifying, I think everybody still sees the value of a T share, right?
I
And
mean,
so
how can you not?
if exactly, so if you take profits and you diversify some, right, and you're using that money to buy back, that's a net
So
positive. So it's
let me
like,
ask you a question, Wendy's.
mhm.
What is one of the most basic tenets of being a successful person financially? Wouldn't you say that it's having multiple income streams?
Yeah, I mean, they say that the typical millionaire has like five streams of income, and I think like, in my case, I've always had at least three or four.
There
Like
you go.
even when I was a pleb and I was building up, my thing. I had another job, right? So that's two
You
right
all
there.
start
You
somewhere,
know,
bro. But that's the whole
you
point.
got to start
right?
somewhere. And it's funny because like I always had that mentality of a passive income, and that's why that's basically why I found Hex, right? That was because I was always looking at that. And so like when I was building up, when I was working, and it got to the point where it was like I was making, you know, at the time it was like maybe $5 or $8, you know, an hour if I had like done the math, you know, for okay, if I'm working a 40-hour week and you know, like my passive income is essentially paying me another $5 to $8 an hour. I would think of it like mentally that I had like a McDonald's pocket in my back working that was just giving me his salary, right? And then when I
Mhm.
double that, I'm like, yo, I got a Burger King dude in the other pocket. He just giving me his salary, you know? And so it's like, boom, you just have like, you know, this money that's just like people are going to work and like punching a clock for you and giving you their whole ass paycheck and stuff. And it's like, that's how people have to think about it, you know? It's like you want to get paid from, you know, as many sources as possible.
Guys, I've been having an actual issue with my I've been what's it called? Paranoid. I've been very paranoid. And I'm not joking either. Like I'm being 100% legit, like a man. Like I've been paranoid like almost automatically, not like I'm trying not to ruminate on stupid shit, but after the hack and just like not knowing so much, but like learning really fast and definitely putting in the work to learn and making sure all my crypto is safe. Like that's not what I'm worried about as much anymore. Now I'm like, and my real question for you guys is, should I move and sell my house and just start over somewhere new? Not like out of the country or anything, but just like I've given up my operational security so many times that if anyone wants to find out exactly where I am, they can. Probably.
Mm.
So, and I do have a house and it has appreciated in value substantially. And I kind of know we are at the top of a market. Obviously, the house will go up in price over the next, you know, however many years. But I'm thinking that in my position, it might just be best to separate myself from my old self physically.
Might be a good
I don't know,
thing
man.
for
I mean, you
mentally.
could potentially just rent it out and get another house. Potentially,
That too.
you know. I mean, you
Depends on
probably
the
have
role.
to you probably have to get a job though if they're gonna get you another house. But yeah, I mean, I don't.
Again,
Real
guys,
estate is something
I
that's
do work. It's just like fitness shit.
yeah. I mean, real
Like
estate is
over the
something that's
computer.
pretty safe. You know, over the long term and stuff. It's like you already got it. You know, if especially if you're not going to flip it into something else, and you're gonna, you know, have to pay taxes and stuff on it. I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't. To me, it doesn't
I
make
think
sense.
So not selling the house, but maybe moving
how
myself.
Oh
how
yeah, actually, no, you're
long how
right
long
because
have
it's
you
it's probably under $250,000, so he probably
my
wouldn't have to pay taxes.
No, it's
my
not. It's 380. It's worth 380 now.
two
Yeah,
questions.
but you still have a mortgage, right?
Oh yeah,
Two
but
two
it's
questions.
appreciated almost double in value. So like most of it's in.
Couple questions that are relevant to the conversation.
Okay.
Question one: how long have you owned the house?
2.4 years.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you meet the
So
threshold. Answer
yeah.
two: is your P&L greater than 200K?
Say that one more time.
Is your profit and loss on the house greater than 200K?
I don't think so.
Then I
Yeah,
don't
so
I think
you're
it's
good.
just under.
I think you might be stuck having to pay taxes then. I think if you surpass 200K, you don't pay taxes federal on the sale of the house, I think.
Oh, like before tax or after tax
No,
on the sale?
after
Oh
tax
fuck
on the
no,
sale.
fuck no, not over 200K. No way.
Yeah. Because I remember when
I thought it was under 200K.
That's what I meant. No.
No.
Oh,
No, I'm
under.
saying like if it's under 200K, you don't owe taxes if you've been in it over 2
No,
years.
it's if you're over. Because I'll tell you the story. When I was living in some place where somebody was a landlord, they had sold the house and they asked me to look it up. That's the only reason I even know. So maybe I gotta check it up again. I don't know. Let me check. Because I remember it being specifically the opposite. That if you made more than 200K and you had owned it for more than 2 years, you didn't have to pay federal taxes on the profits, I think is what it is. Let me just look it up real quick.
What if I bought another place with the money?
Oh, that's 1031
Well,
swap.
yeah,
You're good.
yeah, the 1031, you could do that.
Because that makes
But
it tax
again, if you're in Baltimore, right?
ish.
The DMV area or whatever, like if rents and everything are good out there, Like,
Oh
rent
yeah,
that
my
shit
house
out.
is absolutely incredible. By the way,
That's a good point.
Dude,
That's a good point.
see, that's another.
Wendy's.
Yeah, that's
I
another
want to
thing. Like,
also
you
make
know
this
that
point. My
place.
house is on the corner of a neighborhood, and it's beautiful, and it's a popular little
You
area.
should probably run it
I'll
out.
rent it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then try to find it.
I
Then
already
try to
don't pay.
find
I'm
something
already
else.
broke even with it because the upstairs is completely rented out. So all I would have to do is rent the downstairs out.
Look, real estate is not crypto, but the cool thing about real estate is real estate does make a lot of people a lot of money. And I mean,
Yeah,
I've known
it's
people
pliable.
who are literally school teachers, right? They're making $30,000 and they become multimillionaires by doing like what I'm telling you. You know, it's like
Just
you
renting it
get into
out.
place, you rent it out, you get another place, you know, like you just
Rent
keep
it
doing
out.
that, you build up. Man, there's so many things that you could do. I mean, you could, bro, I've had people at my work, right? Like, you know, when I was working and stuff, and they're like, yo, Tendies, how do I get ahead? And I'm like, well, you're not going to like this, right? But this is what you do. You get a fourplex, right? And you're going to live with your family in one, rent out three, and then you're going to do it. You're going to do it again. Okay. So then you're going to have 8 rentals and then you get your dream house. But people don't want to do that, right? They want to be house poor. So they buy the $300,000,
Disgusting.
$500,000 house when
Yeah.
they have 4 kids. And then they're plebs to this day. And then they're like, you know, 5 years later, they're like, hey, Tendies, I see you're living the life. That's pretty awesome. I'm really happy for you. Like what, you know, and I'm like, well, if you would have listened to me like years ago, bro, you would, because once you have all those rentals, you have your entire salary to invest, you know,
Right.
like
I mean,
your
you're
everything's
building
paid
up the
for.
income to cover your costs.
Exactly. But yeah, you know, people don't want to listen, man. Most people are not going to make it, man. That's just the way it
Nah.
is. They don't
Yeah.
they don't
No
want to listen.
way.
They don't want to put the work in. And it's crazy because like I worked with nurses, man. You got to be pretty smart. You got to learn about a lot of different body systems and stuff and understand medicine and all kinds of stuff, right? But they can't put the work in to learn finance that literally could free
Because
them.
they're not told what to do.
Well, no, it's because they don't care. Like at the end of the day, they don't want to do that. It's boring, you know. They
Some
don't
people
see
think
it
shit's
as
just
like
gonna land in
actual
their lap,
income.
bro.
Yeah,
Some-
exactly.
How though? When is someone going to give it to them? I'm always been worried that I'm like, oh shit, if I don't get every opportunity that I have, like let's say like I want to be prepared for every opportunity that comes to me, right? And I do have a lot of opportunities that come to me. A lot of people want to work with me, and it's just like now I'm preparing myself to be ready for every opportunity. Where before I wasn't ready for any opportunities because I couldn't be for my personal situation. Everyone's different, obviously, but like, yeah, no, everything Wendy's is saying is fucking spot on. About renting the house, about working harder than everyone. No, most people are not going to make it. Even the ones that have good jobs are not going to make it. That's the thing, guys. These guys are going into debt for 5 years plus and then telling me how to live my life. And I just stopped working and I was arrested 3 times before I was 20. And everyone told me I was an
Bro,
idiot and didn't
at
know
some
what the
point
fuck
you
was
just have
going
to
on.
you have to know what you know and you don't listen to what other people say and you just
That's
you know
it.
I was
That's
the
a
hardest
fact.
worker in the room, bro. I was the hardest worker in the room and people were telling me, "Oh, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, you know, live a little,
Bro,
yada yada yada." And like I
I got
said,
a
I just
story.
remember telling people like I'm going to be free before you. And guess what? I was.
Yeah. And why was that, Wendy? Because that's what you felt like doing.
Yeah.
Simply.
Because that
Like,
was
that was your
it was
mission.
I knew that I needed to do it. I needed to be free.
I think people don't realize how simple it is, man. Like,
It
I
is.
literally just did something I never thought I'd do that probably is going to release me from this bondage, right? Why? Because I set out to do it, and that's it.
Yep.
It's literally that simple, man. Like,
It is. I mean, like, you know, the details, the devil's in the details. Like the details are
yeah.
hard, right? Because like they don't tell you about these 90% dips and shit, right? Like it's all like, oh, he got
But
crypto
that's what you
rich,
learn along
yada
the
yada
way,
yada.
though, right? I
You
mean, you got
do,
to learn
you do,
something along the way, right? And that's
you
the
do.
thing that people don't want to realize, in my opinion, that they got to learn. This is why when I'm doing my streams, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm telling them what to look at. You don't need me to tell you what your choice should be. That's your prerogative, right? Like that's how I feel
Mm-hmm.
about it. That's why I don't like that whole like I won't even talk about a project. Like I ain't got nothing to say about a project, man. Like when that shit comes out and it's operational, I'll take a look and then I'll see what it's about. But until then, I
Yep.
can't really make like that's just how I operate. You feel me? Like I can't make a casual judgment on something that doesn't exist. I just don't feel right doing it. So
Oh,
you gotta
yeah. You
do
know, I mean, if you see me streaming, like you know that I like I'm like, I'm not endorsing shit.
But that's the
Like,
point. But
yeah,
that's you gotta do what you're comfortable doing.
right.
Simply. Just like
Just
you
because I
stream
mean,
when
like
you
I've been in
want.
the space and like you know, I don't know if you tuned in when you tuned in, but like I've seen enough shit fail to know that this shit is
Yeah.
really complicated.
Yes.
So it's like
It is not easy, bro.
yeah, it's
Yo,
not. It's really
I don't
not.
really have any interest in building crypto shit. My interest is in bridging the gap. I'll let those with the skills do the rest.
Hmm.
Right? I'm gonna
I
play
do
my
love crypto
role.
and like yeah, like I am, you know, we're currently building like crypto stuff, but it is hard. It is
It's
hard.
hard, bro.
It's
Yeah.
hard and it is stressful. It is stressful, you
My
know.
point is this, Wendy's. My point is, look, I cannot effectively build anything in crypto because I am not, that's not my strength. My strength
Yeah,
is what I know and what I've been doing for the past 10 of years, and that's
right.
finance. So what I'm learning now is crypto. Like, of course, I know crypto to a
Hmm.
certain extent,
Right,
right?
right, right.
But
Yeah.
I'm talking about building software here. That's not knowing crypto.
Hmm.
That's a completely
Right.
different ball game, and I think
For
that's
sure.
what we got to clear up because that's building software, bro. Hexes stands alone just because it
Hmm.
never turns off. I don't think
Hmm.
people really appreciate that. Like that alone makes it worth a shit ton of
A
money.
lot of the people that are watching are probably from my Instagram, which is not just newly crypto related. So what do you
Right.
mean when you said that? Like when you just I forgot exactly what you said, but you just said a statement, and if you could explain that statement.
I got you. I got you. So what did I just say?
I'm
In
trying to
layman's
remember
terms.
too.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna break it down. So what I
Uh,
just said in layman's terms is basically you have to take the time to understand that you have to learn with time. Right? That's ultimately what I'm trying to say. I was just being fancy and giving an example. Ultimately, that doesn't matter. If you want to be successful, you have to determine what your goal is, first off, what your goal is after you accomplish that goal, and what the goal is after you accomplish those first two. I mean, Wendy's literally just said this, a little
Yep.
while ago, and it's so important that we're touching on it again, right? Because I'm going to tell you, man, I am sitting where I am today because I dedicated myself to learning all the things that I'm learning or that I've learned throughout my time to allow me to do the things that I'm doing for the community now. Because all I'm doing is I'm trying to build out the financial infrastructure that we all want. That's it. And I'm the guy that can do it. So why not? What else I got to do? I ain't got shit else to do, bro.
Yep.
So might as well.
That's
I'm
how I
just
feel.
working. Yeah, I'm just working. Like that's not important to me.
Yep.
To me, pumping my bags is important. And that's why my focus is on making sure we got what we need to handle our business because we need it. Like you can't make no moves without a home base, right?
Hmm.
And I think people don't realize that. Like you can't live if you don't have a house. And the same is true for your money. We don't have anywhere
Yep.
to keep our value, our wealth. Like we don't have that. We just don't. Nobody in crypto has that. Like you can't go to Goldman Sachs with your shit. Good luck. Let me know how that works out for you. Right? Like
True
you can
that.
be a billionaire with crypto and you ain't taking that shit to Goldman Sachs. You not. Simply, it's just not gonna happen.
Explain that, like, because I'm confused. I understand.
Mm.
I don't know. I want to know all this. I'm going to
Yeah.
ask the full question. Like,
Yeah, no, it's good. Go ahead. It's a good
you're in
question
the
to ask.
finance business, right?
Hmm.
You know about that shit. Jim Rat does not.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how can you merge these two things? How can you merge the crypto world? Because I hear things about self-directed Roth IRAs. So that's like the
Hmm.
first I've
Hmm.
heard, but I don't really
Yeah.
understand all that enough. Where
Yeah.
is there a way that we can go from finance to stuff like hacks, stuff like crypto?
Yeah, no, that's a pretty big jump. That's the thing, right? Because first of all, you have to understand that crypto is literally just software, and that is the hardest thing to get over, in my opinion. What was it for you, Wendy's?
Yeah, I mean they're literally completely different. They're basically opposing systems. I mean, as
Yeah.
time is going on, they're going to become more blended. Um, I don't like it's hard to say what the future is going to be. Whether
Yeah,
you
nah.
know,
I'm not trying to
it's
talk about the
impossible.
future.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm,
but
I'm I'm more saying like when you're looking at learning it right now,
mhm.
like what do you think was the hardest thing for you to wrap your head around off the jump? Because that's what I'm asking.
I don't know,
'cause-
because I came, like I learned, regular like stocks, bonds, all the equity stuff first.
me too.
I think when I first started like dabbling in crypto, I mean, when I first bought Bitcoin, I didn't even know, I really didn't understand what it was, I basically had no idea. So it's just been like a progressive, thing over
Process.
time. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I can't, like I'm trying to think back to when I was like really,
It's hard,
fresh
right?
trying to
'Cause
understand it.
so many
Yeah,
steps.
yeah,
For
exactly.
me,
Like, and that's the thing. It's like, you're talking about like, hundreds or, hundreds of days, years. You
yeah,
just learn a little bit
thousands of
every
days
day.
ago. Thousands of
Yeah,
days
exactly.
ago.
Like I remember when I first started in crypto, I was scared to, to send it, right? And I remember like sending Bitcoin to like the wrong address. Like I don't even want to know how much, because Bitcoin at the time was like $200. So it's like
Right.
I probably sent like whole ass Bitcoins into the, stratosphere or something. So
Right. Because you didn't know.
it's right, exactly. So it's, it's very different. I mean, they're really worlds apart. I mean, I pretty much hold very, very little like traditional finance stuff now. I think, for most people, you really want to use crypto because it's so much better from like a price appreciation standpoint than traditional assets, So it's like you don't want to diversify until you make a lot of money. But then like what he's saying is like you make billions of dollars, you need to you need to diversify. So you make the money first, and then you get to that point where it's like, okay, you can go into this other stuff because you're not worried about, you have 50 mil plus, you're not worried about that stocks are going to not outpace your crypto because your crypto is going to continue to outpace it. You don't have to worry about that. It's more about like you. So in the beginning parts of your financial journey, you need to get rich, okay, and then when you get rich, you need to stay rich, okay. So
That's right.
it's just you gotta switch gears.
So
But you kind of want to learn both, right? Like you don't want to just know. You kind of want to be tapped into everything. And I know a lot of people, they kind of like tune out from regular finance and stuff, but it is good to stay kind of blended because
I talk about both for that reason.
Yeah, and the macro environment affects crypto.
Everything.
Like,
Everything.
it really does.
Everything.
Like you
Not just
think a
crypto,
recession's
but
not gonna. Yeah, like crypto hasn't existed in a real recession yet. So we fixing to find out. Is crypto really risk on? Is it basically tech on leverage? Like these are all things that we're finding out. Like the thing is, like, crypto is still a baby. It's not even a toddler. It's a fucking baby, right? As far as like finance goes, because when you're talking about like the stock market, how long has the stock market been out? How long have
200 plus years?
Exactly.
Is it 1779 or 89? I can't remember exactly. One or the other.
Exactly. So when you're comparing that to like how long Bitcoin has been out, it's a baby. It's not even a toddler.
Not even comparable.
It's not comparable. So it's you really do want to stay tuned to both, and yeah.
I mean, it's important that you say that, right? Because I talk about both specifically for that reason. You can't understand the significance of crypto if you don't understand what's going on in the finance space. I think that's just a fact of the matter, right? And this is why things get kind of hairy for people in crypto, because they can't comprehend what they're not trying to learn. And this is why I go out of my way to tell people like, hey, you got to get the money first. Like Jim Ryder tell you, one of the last times we streamed, I think he was in between buying Hex and buying Hedron. And I'm like, look, dude, you got to buy Hedron because it got the zeros. You can put your gains in Hex later. Period. Because the projectile, right, when it takes off from the Hedron launch pad is going to travel much higher than the projectile from the Hex launch pad because the weightings are different. It's just math. There's no zeros at the front of Hex. It's 0.1 ... Here is 0.00000 ... So once you understand that simplicity and laying down your capital, you will find it very hard to lose money, because that's the key to success. That's how you generate outsized returns, is by finding asymmetric risk, identifying that.
And you're gonna see people turn lots of Pulse and PulseX into
other
Hex.
shit.
Yeah.
Into other things in general, I think.
Yeah, into other stuff too.
things in
Yeah.
general.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all gonna flow into, you know, a lot of other stuff. And like it, you know, you might have seen stocks sell off into PulseX sacrifice, right? Like somebody could have sold $100,000 of Tesla, right? To get USDC, right? To
That's true.
sacrifice.
I never even thought of that.
And then
Good call.
yeah, and then like PulseX does 100x, and maybe somebody goes, okay, I'm gonna buy 1 million of Tesla, you know.
Yeah. Because you just
So
made a dip over there for somebody to take an opportunity. Because that's the
exactly,
thing, man. Everybody has their own opportunity set. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is
risk reward ratios,
profound.
man. That it's a big thing in investing, and that's why
that's what I'm talking about when I say all the zeros. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. That's why it's comical to me when people don't see, like, you know, 80% dips, 90% dips, or even more as opportunity. Like, that's opportunity.
Right.
Hex
like,
ain't going nowhere. The community's not going nowhere.
There's
We ain't going
that are
nowhere.
$200,
Crazy, bro.
Let's talk about this. There's coins out there that are trading right now that are $200, double digits, whatever, triple digits, and they don't even work.
Yep.
Hex always works. This is software that works 100% of the time. What other software exists out there that does that? Point it out.
How many DeFi protocols get hacked regularly, right? Like, how many?
For everyone watching, real quick before you guys go on this tangent, because this is really important, guys. They're talking about Hex right now. If you have no idea what the hell we're talking about, they're talking about Hex and why it differs from maybe some of what you're told and some of the other cryptos that are on the market that people put a lot of money into.
Yeah. So we're talking about a coin that's typically not marketed, like a Shiba or something of that nature, or an Ethereum or a basic Bitcoin, right? So I'm sorry, Wendy's, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, and anytime you're chasing a yield, you're giving something up, right?
Yeah,
if you you're giving up opportunity costs. You're either giving up your keys to to give it to something like a Celsius, where they're going to lend out your Ethereum or Bitcoin so it can be shorted. You are potentially giving it up to a third party to, if you don't have like 32 Ethereum, you might have to give it up to a third party to get, staking rewards on that. I mean, Hex is truly unique because you get to hold your own keys. You can literally stake it from a hardware wallet and lock it up and get way better rewards. I mean, like the average staking reward is like 38% versus something like 5% a year for Ethereum. It's going to go, like, after the merge, I think, to like 10%. Still doesn't come anywhere close to something like Hex. Now we've seen coins that have boasted extremely high APYs, but most of those coins have done absolutely god awful. They haven't seen the run up that Hex has had, and they're basically like, bleeding to literally utter death. The node coins are doing terrible too. Those are actually Ponzi's, and a lot of people don't understand that. It's degen DeFi speculation, but I don't use that word. A lot of crypto uses that word very loosely, but if you really understand some of those node coins, I mean, that's essentially what they are in the current form. So, from a risk reward ratio, I mean, Hex is the best. And I say that with experience because I understand. Now, some people will tell you that Hex can't go down, they say, oh, it dipped, it's never dipped more than like 85% or whatever. Well, any coin can dip a lot, right? The difference is when I held, I held Ethereum. Ethereum is the number 2 coin. Okay. I held Ethereum down 95%. Do you know what my APY was holding it down 95%? Zero.
Preach.
Okay. I got nothing. Okay.
That
if
means
I had gotten
yield,
38,
folks.
yeah.
You're not getting paid to hold it.
Zilch, nada. So if I had gotten 38% those like 4 years that I held this gigantic bag of Ethereum, how many millions of dollars that I could, so it's like when you think about that, it's like Hex really is truly unique.
Yep.
And when you use hex appropriately, and by appropriately, I mean making a real ladder that goes out, you're insulated. You're insulated. The people who are like really hurting the price and the ones that are really stressing out are the people who didn't stake appropriately. Okay,
Yes,
because
sir.
if you have a rotating bag monthly, you're going to see people EESing, right? Because they're not going to. They're like, well, okay, I might pay like a 5%, 8% penalty, but if the price goes down another 50%, that's way worse, you know? So these people, if you have a proper staking ladder, you're not doing that because you're just like, okay, well, like I'm insulated because, you know, I have a stakes going out 15 years. Like the APY that I'm earning on those 15 years, like it doesn't matter what the price does day to day. And it's crazy. Here's another thing. If you're staking out multiple years and you don't think that a bear market could happen, like what are you doing? Like I'm seeing people EES 1,200 day stakes and it's like, are you joking me? Did you
What?
not think that like a
You really
recession could
think?
happen in
Do
that
you
amount
really
of
think
time?
that's because of downside price action? I would hope not, because that's kind of
It
ludicrous,
is.
bro.
I really think it is because
Wow.
we pretty much never saw that before until the price started like doing what
Dropping.
it's been doing, and I'm seeing it like fairly regularly. I mean, at least like multiple times a month now, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like literally like 1,200 days, 1,400 days, and I'm like, did you not think that like I mean, we've been in a macro bull market for like over 10 years now. Like, did you not think that like a
Did you
bear
miss
market
it?
was coming at some point? Yeah. And it was like, I mean, even the most bullish people said like, okay, by 2023, 2024, we'll probably see like a recession. Guys,
Right.
recessions, look it up. They don't last that long, right?
No, they're
Like
actually
bear
really quick.
markets, yeah, bear markets in stocks, they don't last that long. Bear markets in crypto don't last that long. The top in Bitcoin was in December 2017. The bottom was December 2018. It was 1 year. Okay. Like they don't last that long. Like you
Mhm.
can't survive a year. Really? Like it's like everybody's in such a hurry to retire.
Get
Everybody's in
rich,
such a
right?
hurry to keep up with the Joneses. Like
Without
put
learning
your
anything.
exactly put your grind hat on and start buying the fucking dip and you'll make it. But if you start freaking out and stuff like that, like you're just gonna be swayed by emotion in the day to day. You're like, you're
No,
too
Wendy's,
close.
I gotta ask you a question because you're financially free, and I think this is a very good question to ask someone such as yourself, who could give someone even like me, right, some
Mhm.
good advice in terms of getting yourself financially free. For those of you that are out there that are probably bad with money, right, you're always trying to find a side hustle that never works out, trying to get ahead, but it ends up putting you behind because this is how it, this is how it is. This is how
Yeah.
life works for a lot of people because
The
you don't
MLMs, bro.
think. Yeah, you don't
God.
think before you act. And look, dude, I was I'm a victim of that. I was a
Hmm.
victim of that for a long time because we don't think, right? And this is what happens when we don't try to delay gratification to some extent. We kind of force ourselves into these positions that don't really make sense because we're honestly just not being patient with our thought process. Because if we thought about what we were doing, you know, things would not crash around us more as often as they do. Right. And,
Hmm.
and 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 that's kind of a cool thing when you think about it because that means the control is in your hands, actually. That's what I ended up realizing, right? Because look at what you did, right? You became financially free because you took care of your business, bro. Not because somebody made you or did it for you,
Right.
because you took the action to do it.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like the thing I want people to understand is like, yo, look, you're better off taking care of your little annoying debts that keep plugging your pocket or putting a hole in your pocket so that then you can with a free mind buy hex instead of trying to buy hex to get a price pump to pay off your debt. Like that's the kind of thing
Hmm.
that people would try to do, right? Try to put the cart in front of the horse instead of just getting it out of
Yes.
the way. And that's kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. You need to, yeah, like, general good advice is like pay off your debts and don't leverage yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is a degen thing. And I mean, I've done it before. Like I bought, like
I've done it too.
knew
That's what I'm
that
saying.
I knew that big payday was going to lead to a massive sell off. And so I filed for a loan before big payday
Nice.
hit. The price went down crazy. And
Hmm.
I think like a $15,000 loan turned into like millions of dollars.
Oh my
So
God. Salute you, brother.
yeah, Yeah, but again, like that kind of stuff, like okay,
But you
so
worked your way to being able to see that
I did in like
opportunity though,
15
Wendy's.
in
That's the point.
15,000. Like I had way more than that in cash anyway. It was just, it was a
But
very
that's
low
the
interest rate and stuff.
talk
So it was
about
like,
that, man. Think, okay, so
hmm
Wendy's, you're being too modest. Okay, you're talking
hmm
about it as if it was a nonchalant thing that any person would just randomly do, and I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, and that's fine. That's my job because I'm on the outside looking in, and I want people that are watching to understand that what this gentleman did was place a bet on himself, his skills, and his effort throughout time. Because to put yourself on the line like that takes intelligence, right? I think it takes time and work to be able to spot that opportunity, have the foresight to say, let me go take a loan out that's not going to even put me in a bad position.
hmm
And you end up making millions of dollars from it.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
there is no bigger boom, bro.
yeah, and and I say like it's good to have friends because I have talked people out of doing the same thing. Like when Hex was 40 cents, right? Because I'm like,
Right.
okay, like what is it? We're talking risk reward ratios earlier. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what is our upside potential versus our downside potential? And I'm like, it probably doesn't make sense to do, the amount that they were talking about doing. They didn't do it. They're probably very happy they didn't
Happy
do
right
it,
now.
at this point.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and now those same people are talking, okay, well, if we get to these bottom, lower price targets, they'll probably do that. And from a risk reward ratio, if you can afford it, if you don't have other debts, then you know you can do it. And
Yeah.
I've done it with crypto before too. It's I don't recommend that. And for me in general, I like to dissuade people from using leverage, and that's why I was like,
Yeah.
saying
I
like
agree.
I will not use liquid loans, just out of like principle of I just know how people can overdo it, right? It's like it's how like people can do drugs and it doesn't
Yep.
ruin their life. There's plenty of people that are functioning, on drugs,
Junkies.
right? Like they can
Yeah.
do it every weekend. It's not going to affect them like when they go to work. They're going to show up on time. They're going to do their job, and then maybe next weekend they do it again, right?
Yeah.
But then
And
there's a
that's it.
guy that goes and does drugs, and he's gone. He's missing for 3 weeks. And you're like, what the hell happened to
Yeah.
this guy, right? It's
Off the
because
rails.
everybody's different. So if you don't try drugs, if you don't do those things, then you don't have to worry about it. And it's one of those things where it's like it can ruin you. So it's one of those things where it's like crypto is a golden ticket for everybody. So don't risk losing your golden ticket because you're trying to make more. Because guess what? You always want more. You know,
Yeah.
Everyone says, "Oh, if I had $200,000," there's a lot of people. If I had $200,000, I wouldn't care. I just need to pay off my house. Da-da." You get to $200,000 and you're like, "Oh, this ain't shit." Like, let me get to 1 million. And you get to 1 million, you're
Right.
like, "Oh, I mean, 1 million ain't shit. Like, I want to be a multi-million." You get to 2 million, and you're like, all right, like I'm comfortable now, but like,
Just keep going.
I always wanted that. Yeah, you just always want more,
Mhm.
and so like, so it really makes no difference, it really makes no difference, but the kind of like it will amplify stress if it goes the wrong way, right? Because
100%.
leverage is an amplifier, right? If it's
Mhm.
going good, it's going real good. If it's going bad, it's going real bad. But the bear markets are bad enough, and the bull markets are good enough that you don't need leverage, truthfully.
That's right. I agree with you. And this is why, crypto is honestly a golden ticket, like you said, because you can take a small amount of capital, take advantage of a coin that's decent with a lot of zeros and change your life. Literally. It's just about understanding the asymmetric risk that exists within within the system, because that's how you make the right decisions. But you have to also exercise a time preference that's longer than normal for most, because the average person wants the shit to happen today, and that's just not how it works. You got to put in time and effort.
Yep, you
It's
do.
not
Blood, sweat. So the old saying, blood, sweat, and tears.
tears. Yeah,
Well,
it took me a minute before I found Hex. I mean, and I wasn't even
yep.
financially free, and I have been at it, trying to find it. It's not easy. It's not easy.
hmm blood comes from catching falling knives, right?
That's
Sweat
it.
comes from grinding your dick off, trying to get the money to invest. And tears comes from, like I mean, shit, go to Twitter right now and you'll see plenty of tears.
Plenty of tears.
And there's a lot of guys that work their ass off doing the wrong thing their whole entire life.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I
And
spent a
that's
long time doing
another
that.
problem that nobody ever talks about. It's like, yeah, all three of us will probably grind 14 hours a day for the rest of our lives. No problem if we had to. But at the same time, there's other dudes that would grind the same amount of time, but they get nothing done because what they've done is they've not learned anything. So they can't get out of the rat race of the mental plebbery. Like you can't, how are you supposed to be a free thinker, Wales? How are you supposed to have two parents?
I was talking
and a
about this
family?
with somebody the other day on Twitter. I think it was Hexagon 720. And his point was like, oh, a pleb cannot be a pleb. I'm like, well, no, you're not understanding the definition of a pleb. A pleb is a person that's not trying to educate themselves. They're willfully ignorant. That's a pleb. A pleb is not a noob in my mind. By definition, a noob is a person that's just new and is trying to learn. A pleb is not that. A pleb is a motherfucker that's just a hater and is trying to stay a pleb. So there's no progression in that arena in my mind. And that's why I say, you know, there's a difference between being a pleb and being a noob. A noob I can respect. A noob I will forever help.
Well, because that's just temporary.
That's right. 100%. You nailed it. A pleb is permanent. A noob is temporary. And that's right. You know, and that's why we, you know, again, as a community have to be the ones that draw the line. You know, who's a noob, who's a pleb? A pleb is a person that's always causing FUD, isn't learning, isn't trying to add value, isn't trying to actually understand what's happening under the hood because, yo, we already seen that Hex does 200 X's like it's nobody's business. What do you think?
And we ain't even, it's crazy because like we ain't even talking about the, you know, the APY that you get with it, you know? And that's the thing is like, I mean, if Hex goes to 1 cent, like I still think a 200X is easily likely. That would be $2. Can you imagine buying at 1 cent, getting to $2 and also getting the APY? My God, that's an opportunity of multiple lifetimes.
If you're new and you don't know what we're talking about, let's try to break it down a little bit, Wendy's, because this is almost the same, right? So think about it like this. Think about being able to buy the best performing software in history, but the value of that software fluctuates over time in real time. That's essentially what you're doing when you're looking at crypto. You're looking at what is the best software to buy. So by default, the best software is going to be the best operating software. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to own something that doesn't work? Doesn't quite make sense.
Yep.
So
I mean,
go ahead.
With Hex, it's like, you know, the 100% uptime. I mean, it literally is the, you know, the beacon of light in a lot of darkness in crypto. And that's like, man, people don't get that. Like I've talked about before, like I've done yield farming. All that stuff. I've been a degen. Okay. I've had millions of dollars on platforms that could rug at any second, making, you know, making good APYs, but like, you know, I'm literally like staring. Yeah, I'm like literally like staring at the computer. I'm like, oh, I'm making so much money a day, but like this is crazy, and you can't sleep. You literally can't sleep, right?
No, you
and
cannot.
It's like PulseX. You can make these cool APYs. You can yield farm, and guess what? You can sleep. You can rest.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about the rug pull and all that. You know, like I don't think people realize like how major that is.
Yeah,
like,
I'm so happy that the yield farming is not going to be like everywhere else.
Exactly. Like you don't have to worry about that garbage. So
yes.
I mean, I'm so excited, and I really think that we're gonna see like TVLs just reach like crazy numbers. You know, like maybe it starts off kind of slow, but like as people realize, like, oh man, this is safe, this is good. There's a lot of trading volume. You know, like man, people are making so much money.
The significance and the safety aspect of an investment, because that's very important for people.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge because like, okay, so a lot of people don't realize that like when you don't know and you're risking $1,000, you might say $1,000 is let's say you got $2,000 a month to invest, right? You're doing good for yourself. You got $2,000 a month to invest, and you say like, well, I'm trying to get this crazy returns, so I'm going to go into something like risky or whatever.
Right.
If you lose that $1,000 though, like think about $1,000 in the first month of Hex.
Yep.
Think about $1,000 in the first months of Pulse Chain, the first months of Pulse X. Once that $1,000 is gone, it cannot earn you any money. It's done. It's gone. That $1,000 could have been millions of dollars, but you lost it.
You can't replace it.
You can't replace it. So there's something major to be said for security and like people losing coins. I mean, I saw the other day there was a guy who activated a wallet from 2011 with Bitcoin.
Oh yeah,
$50. You saw that?
Yep.
It was $50 and it's $20 million today. It was $50 at the time.
Something to think about, people. Something to think about.
So if you imagine that guy who like he was just like, oh, I'll throw $1,000 into Dentacoin or some crazy coin, that went to zero back then, and he was like, well, it could go up more than Bitcoin, yeah, but it wasn't as safe. It wasn't, it wasn't as safe as an investment. And that $50 turned to 20 million. It's crazy, It
is. I mean, I don't think a lot of people, I know I did not, for one, realize that was a possibility. And that's the kind of hope that people need because it's realistic. I don't think people want to be sold a bridge in Brooklyn that they can't honestly buy. I think people want honest, good wealth building type information. And that's why I prided myself in providing that kind of information and not talking about degen shit because, you can get that shit anywhere. You can't get this anywhere. You know what I'm saying? What we're talking about, you can't get that anywhere, bro.
Well, it's also like I'm not gonna put. I really don't want to like put my name on stuff
shit
that isn't safe, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather tell people like, hey, you can feel comfortable investing in Pulse X. Like, people that know me personally on my Facebook and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm getting them in. I got a lot of people into Pulse and Pulse X and. I mean, it's it's going to change lives.
Asking me about Pulse Chain all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, it is more marketable than Hex.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about on Twitter. I'm saying off Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. I mean,
I feel like it's more marketable halfly because people want an excuse to get into an RH project without being an RH maxi. Literally,
I'm
going to give you that one. I will agree with that.
People are literally like this because it's like an ego thing, right? Like people walk themselves into a corner with Hex. That's the only problem. They love the returns. They love the immutable code. They have Hex themselves. Mr. Ben Cohen, all you guys that don't say shit about it, all of you, Pomp, everyone, I bet they do. But at the same time, when Pulse Chain comes out, they'll capitalize because they're just little monkeys. They're freaking, they're leeches. They're just like,
yeah, they are.
But also a general person has no frame of reference. So like when you say like Hex, it's like it's basically like a blockchain CD, or you try to explain to them. It doesn't really like resonate so easily. Versus like you say Pulse Chain, it is the low fee, basically free to use in the beginning. Ethereum, everyone knows Ethereum. Ethereum's a household name. Everyone knows Ethereum. So people have heard many people get rich on Ethereum, right? So when they say, oh, wow, and it's like, it's starting now and it's like environmentally friendly and it's deflationary, like all these things that hit, a lot of people don't get inflation. Like they don't, the people who like Bitcoin, like a lot of them just talk about the 21 million coins and they don't even realize that like Bitcoin's inflating every year. Like it's like comical stuff like that. So like the deflationary stuff, that's going to sell a percentage of people on it. They're gonna be like, oh, deflationary. I get that. That means scarce, right? Scarce means valuable, yada, yada, yada.
Is that necessarily true?
No, not really.
It doesn't feel like it's true. It's just more like a narrative.
It is a narrative. But true. He's saying like is just because it's deflationary, is it
still suck major?
Oh yeah, no, that's just a narrative.
Yeah, it's a narrative. It's a narrative for the most part, but fundamentals do work in the long run. But like if you're talking about like in the beginning, okay, let's say a transaction is 1/10,000th of a cent, and a percentage of that is burned. A percentage of a 10,000th of a cent is burned from one transaction. Like so, think about it. So 10,000 transactions, like if they were burning 100% of the fee, would burn 1 cent. That's a lot of transactions, bro. to burn one penny.
Whole lot.
So yeah, in reality, in the beginning, it doesn't matter so much, but over time, people are getting tons of coins, right? They're delegating their coins, which means those coins are essentially locked up. The validators who have to have the most coins, if they unstake, then they risk losing their validator position, right? So it's, there is definitely like price positive things, and I do think that over time. But like anybody thinking like, oh my God, the burn's going to be like super crazy in the beginning.
Your validator position. What does that mean?
So
I know kind of what it means, but I want you to tell me what it means more.
So there's 32 validators, and the validators, you have to be like, essentially you have to lock up coins, okay? Because it's proof of stake. You have to lock up coins to earn transactions and to have a validator. So if somebody comes along with a lot more coins, they can essentially like bump you off from being a validator. So part of the game theory is that you have to get a lot of coins to be a validator, and you have to lock those coins up, because if somebody gets more than you, they could potentially take your lunch. So I mean, in the beginning, we might see validators change and stuff like that. I mean, it's going to be it's not going to be profitable in the beginning, but over the long term. So if you think about like Ethereum, if Ethereum had done EIP 1559 in the beginning, it wouldn't have burned shit. It wouldn't have burned shit. The reason that it burns so much money is because, exactly.
There's
like,
no value there.
Right. There was nobody using it. Even last, when Hex came out, I mean, it was a penny to stake, 1 penny.
That's right.
So, it's only when
the
fees went
returns
to,
were
$300
equivalent,
to $500 that you started seeing like billions of dollars burned. Right. So, it's going to take time. The great thing for everybody is that, like, people think like, oh, Pulse Chain is Ethereum killer. It's not. It is going to reduce load on Ethereum, which is good for all of us, because we'll probably still use Ethereum either to like on ramp to Pulse or
Ethereum
whatever.
is never going to die. I don't know.
It's not going to die. And Pulse Chain fees will go up, but by the time that they're like 20 cents, we're all going to be so rich you won't care, because even when Ethereum fees were $500 plus, I would still click fast every single time. Like, I did not give a fuck. Okay. So you want to get to the point where you're like a whale like that, where you're like, oh, I don't give a shit fast. Like, I don't want to wait 2 minutes. I'll pay an extra $200-$300 just to like have it go through in like 15 seconds. That's going to happen to you if you're making the right moves here. Right. When people stop listening to videos, when people stop paying attention to crypto, because it's not sexy anymore. Like, the millions of dollars aren't being made. The NFTs are drying out. Like, well, all that. Like, if you're putting the work in, if you're investing in the times when nobody is around, that's how you make all the money, guys. Like, bear markets is where you really get rich. Like, you get wealthy, but you're not going to realize that until later on.
Pretty much. Very
it's
important.
so crazy that we're even talking about this at the end of the day. Like, all these concepts about people fudding Hex because of the price being down, when Hex literally 9 months ago was 2 pennies.
Yep.
That's when I bought it. That's when I was in. I was just like, oh, normal guy learning about Hex. Motley was talking about it. I just bought it random. And it went up 1,100%. Everyone seems to forget that occurred. And then it's just coming back down off that. But guys, if you were in 9 months ago, what the fuck? 9 months? Like, and so yes, obviously you have to learn about all this stuff. And like, if you bought the top, that's wrecked. I mean, you get wrecked. It sucks. But if you stay, I listened to what everyone was saying right away, because I understood that I did not know enough. So I had to find the best resources I could, which I dug for. And I looked through all the Hexkin community. I found the guys that I wanted to emulate. And then I did my staking ladder just as they kind of suggested right away, and I did make mistakes along the way, but there's a reason that these guys they're not trying to fuck you over. They don't care if you make it or not. If you don't make it, you're just filling their bag. Probably you're just locking in losses.
Right.
I mean, my onboards, the earliest I let them, stake to was 5 years. Cause I was like, you should be good in 5 years. If the price goes down, a lot of people got in at, 20 cents, 40 cents. Some people like slightly above 40 cents. Yeah, they're down. I had, one friend, she put in like 10 grand. It's like worth like 3 grand right now. Yeah,
Feeling it.
that's painful. But guess
Yeah.
what? Like, she can't touch that for another 5 years. Like, in 5 years, I have high confidence that she's going to be in profit.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt about it. I have no doubt about it because the dollar is designed to only do one thing.
Exactly. And guess what? If she does another 10,000 anywhere around here, solid.
Yep.
So
100%.
funny story. Like when I had originally basically, made millions of dollars on Ethereum, my sister finally wanted to listen to me. She's like, "Oh, you're rich now? Cool. Like, let me put some money in." Right. So she puts in money, and then
Man,
Ethereum drops 95%. And I go,
of
"Yo,
course.
sis, I really think you should put more in." She's like, "Yeah, fuck that." Like,
Right. Already
and,
got
and
burned
get,
once, ain't getting burned again type of thing.
right. You want to know what she said at 4,900?
I want
Should
to
I
buy
put
it
some
all.
more in?
Right.
Yeah, should I put some more in? Like, and I'm like, do you realize if you would have bought at $88, like she lives in Miami, and I'm like, yo, you would literally have a house in Miami, and not a lot of people have houses in Miami.
Nah, they
You know
renting
what I'm
houses in
saying? Like,
Miami actually.
yeah, like a lot of people that live and work in Miami live with their family. So that's like a very normal thing. You're like 40 years old, you live with your parents, because like my houses in Miami, $1 million. You're making, my sister makes like, I don't know, 40, 50, $60,000, something like that. Like, you ain't buying no $1 million house. You know what I'm saying? So, the fact that she could have done that, whew, and she saw, my parents get rich and everything. Oh, yeah, yep. She buying
I
now.
mean,
She buying now.
but now she learned, right? And sometimes it
Yep.
takes that experience going through all these opportunities lost. Like, yo, I've shitted on so many opportunities in my life that I know what I'm talking about. Because how many
Mm-hmm.
times do you have to drop the ball before you figure out how to pick it up after you drop it?
Yep.
That's really all it
It's true.
is.
It's true. And I think a lot of people, I know one thing that like kind of fucked me was like coming from, traditional finance is like, in traditional finance, you're taught that like 9 times out of 10, it's better to lump sum invest than it is to dollar cost average.
Yeah.
And I learned in crypto though that DCAing is way better in crypto. It's not the same. It is not the
Not the
same
same.
because
Yep.
you don't have the same volatility that stocks have.
Correct.
Crypto's completely different. So, DCAing is awesome. And then you could do something called dynamic DCAing, right? Where you can wait for the price to drop 50% and start DCAing at that point, to lower your
Opportunistic.
risk.
That's called
Exactly.
opportunistic trading in legacy finance.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and then from like a risk reward ratio, yes. Can the price drop another 50% when you're down 50%? Absolutely. But that's why you're DCAing, right? Because you're going to have more money come in the next month, and you're going to just keep lowering your average, lowering your average, lowering your average. So if you bought from $200 Ethereum down to 88, sure, your average is not 88, but it's also not 200,
Right. Big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes a huge difference in your P&L because guess what? You acquired at 88 versus 200. So now the
Yep.
P&L is going to be proportionally bigger because your holdings are going to be proportionally bigger. And that's how it works. This is why getting in on the ground floor of a coin is so critical, especially a good one, because that opportunity does not last.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about all the people that think Richard Hart's a scam artist, like Eliza Barnley? She's been up in here just kind of poking about. Richard said this will be pre-viral a year ago. All that. Yeah, well, a lot of new Hex investors got wrecked. Of course they did. My onboards are kind of pissed. Yeah, that's crypto. But if you didn't explain to them well enough what's going on,
It's your
then
fault.
it's your fault. Yeah, if
It's
you didn't
literally
say
your fault.
80% dips are in the game right away and within the
Yo, I
first
told
5 minutes.
Nagabo this shit when he was crying when we was going down back in October, November. Like, bro, that's your fault. You ain't on board the motherfuckers properly and explain to them, and this shit goes up and down a lot. Because just like it went from 0.2% straight to 50 cents, because that's what happened, and motherfuckers want to act like they don't know, but that's what happened.
Everybody wants a free lunch.
Yeah,
Everybody
and
wants a
it
free
ain't
lunch.
happening. There's no such
Mm-mm.
thing. Like when I got in the Hex Show, the price was 0.5%. I bought all the way up until that November 1st top, and I realized what was going on, and I was like, holy shit, well, I gotta buy this motherfucking payday dump because I came in right before that. So what did I do? I took advantage of the opportunity. I didn't cry about the fucking price being down. So people that are doing that deserve what they get, which is no success. Period. I don't have any sympathy for people like that. Like, you get what you deserve. You get what you want from this life. And if what you want to do is complain and cry, well, that's the energy you're gonna get right back.
What do you think about this comment that I said? Because I'm just responding to Elisa. I said, she's saying that Richard's holding the price up himself and it's all just about him. And then I just said, welcome to finance. Everything's manipulated and you don't know what's really going on with anything.
That's a fact.
Well, I mean, okay, so like
that's
if you're talking about like the buy wall, like I think a lot of it was like pulled yesterday too.
It was pulled like last week, bro.
Well, like another, yeah.
There was another one or something?
Some of it, yes. Like another 16 million, I think was like.
Sorry, then, my bad.
I think
I was talking about the other one. The one from last week.
Yeah, because there was the sell side, right? Because we dipped into the range. They pulled the sell side, but they pulled more. Right. They pulled like another, I think like 16 million was pulled. And so like if I'm speculating, right, I'm just saying like whoever the entity is that did that, maybe they're saying, okay, we just need to wash out. Like there was a bluff, right? A $20 million buy order bluff. We dipped into that. And so maybe they're saying there's a lot of panic and everything like that. We got to wash some of these whales out. There's a lot of whales that have crazy huge, and I posted about it on Twitter. There's guys that have, 50 million hex that they're selling. They're literally leaving it liquid and selling it every few days. One guy started with 120 million hex and he's sold down to like 48 million. There's other guys with multi-million dollar, of hex that's sitting liquid and they're just like selling it, as time goes on. This is redistribution, guys. Like, could somebody that has $700 million just make it so it pumps? Absolutely. But like, if you've been in the markets long enough, that like markets just need to do what they're going to do, right? Could Satoshi potentially, like if Satoshi had millions and millions and millions of dollars, could Satoshi have caused like bottoms on charts? Yeah. But guess what? Like Bitcoin did fine without it. Bitcoin had huge crashes, right? And Hex is very similar. I mean, your chart about like current inflation versus deferred inflation, there's a lot, yeah, if you want to pull it up. Do you have like a one that's like updated for now? Like what
I
it
got
is
one
currently?
that's updated through the 1st of March. I haven't been able to update charts.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean that's close enough. But yeah, I mean that just kind of shows that like economics wise, we're similar to that, So there is some differences where you might see that Bitcoin holders over time sell out of their positions easier than like Hex holders because of the staking feature. So that could change the way the price chart looks. But like the fact that like people think that like, oh, if we dip to 2 cents, we're dead. If we dip to 1 cent, we're dead. If we dip to like lower than a cent, we're dead. I mean, to me, I've been in long enough to see stakers go from under 10,000 to 80,000. And pretty much every single day, you see way more accounts buying than selling. So what I see is that if we do go down that low, we're going to see a big risk redistribution. You're going to see these shark accounts, these high dolphin accounts that are redistributing to silent shells and to other smaller turtles and stuff like that. Turtles are going to be able to become squids. Squids might be able to become dolphins. Maybe a couple sharks or dolphins become sharks. Like that's all good. That's better for the long run. Like you're not able to see 200 X's without these kinds of like redistribution phases. So when liquidity is like, potentially pulled like that, then that's kind of what I'm speculating on. So it's like, okay, these guys like this shark is hell bent on selling. Maybe he's like, okay, recession's coming. I want this like $12 million cash. And who knows? Maybe he's like, I'm going to rebuy the bottom. I'm going to, who knows what he's speculating on, right? He could be just getting a huge house. He could be like, okay, I'm going to buy Pulse when the Pulse chain launches. Like, we have no idea, but you can tell from his actions that he's just routinely selling. So maybe someone's like, well, I'm not going to just like keep buying up his order. I'm just going to pull it and let him dump for pennies. And then, maybe at 1 cent, there's a huge buy order, who knows? But the fact that like people think, oh yeah, it's dead if X doesn't happen, like Hex doesn't need Richard. Okay, Richard could go away and like Hex will be fine.
Literally irrelevant that he even exists. He just created it and he made it that way on
Mhm.
purpose.
Yep.
On
I mean,
purpose.
like, can you imagine if like Satoshi stuck around longer and people were like, oh, if Satoshi does X, Y, or Z, like Bitcoin. Well, he's been gone for a long time and Bitcoin's doing fine.
Yep.
And people would say if he comes back, that would be bearish, right?
I added that chart to the stream if you don't see it. My bad.
You're good. But yeah, this is what Wendy's is talking about. So the pink line is the systemic inflation, what the system is designed to generate, 3.69%. The yellow line is the inflation that's actually being minted by the system over time. And in the first year, we only got to 1.73% out of 3.69%. So that means 1.96% of all the inflation that was generated by the system in year one was actually deferred to the future. And this is why the price of Hex elevates so quickly, because supply is so hard to find. That's literally it. So when you sit here and you look at what the liquidity pool is looking like now, and I'm just going to go to Apex real quick. I'm not going to go to Uniswap to look at the and when we come here, you see that's 252 million. At one point, there was 300 million plus sitting on here. And then at one point, it
Mhm.
dropped down to 200 million, and now it's back up to 50 million again because I guess there's so much selling going on.
Yeah,
But
I think
we
like
will
last year
talk
it got to
about.
like 170 or something.
I don't
It
remember
got
because I
pretty
wasn't
low.
really watching.
Yeah.
I wasn't. You know what? I got a chart. Hold on. I'm a
It's
dumbass.
funny, I wasn't watching, but I kept getting DMs from people. It's down to 180. It's not,
Oh,
it was
that's how
getting
you
like so
know.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool,
Well,
bro.
here's a chart.
I'm not worried
Okay,
about it.
so I don't have like the hex quantity, or do
Mhm.
I? Let me see. Hex is the no, that's price. Liquidity pool for hex. Is this in USD? I'm pretty sure this is in USD, so it's not gonna give us the hex count. I'm gonna try to find a chart to do that. But if you look at the blue line is pretty flat, right? Like throughout the beginning. Like it's really just in this range of 2 million to 10 million, like the whole time. Until big payday when it kind of breaches that, but then it comes back. But then ultimately we break out of that. And then that happens after we're already in breakout mode. So this is a function of the USDC pool taking over. And this is what the effect was over time. It just made the market better, stronger because it wasn't tied to Ethereum and everything that goes on in those pools because those are a uh, negative implication for hex price because the crypto market
Mhm.
is tied to the stock market or just to legacy markets in general. And this is what
Right.
everybody has come to discover most recently because people were under the presumption that that wasn't the case. But
Yeah.
it is.
Yep.
So
Very true. I
this is
mean,
why I
but
did.
it's
Go
also
ahead.
true that like because so like you could say that the reason with Hart's law, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
liquidity that's bonded together like rises and falls together. So that's why
Yep.
you have like Unisocks trading at
Mm-hmm.
$80,000 at one point because when they were worth 10 or $20, I can't remember what they started at, $10 to $20. Ethereum was like $88 or whatever. Ethereum rose to $4,900, and it dragged as socks were minted, it dragged the worth of stocks up. Now, when you're looking at the stock market is not exactly tied. There's no liquidity that's really tied to it. But when stocks drop, you might see somebody that it has a balanced portfolio that is doing rebalancing. So they say like, okay, I lost $1 million in Tesla, so now I'm like underweight, and Bitcoin's up, so maybe they sell Bitcoin to buy more Tesla, right?
All right.
So it doesn't
And
have
that's
to be like
typical.
directly, yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be directly correlated. And perhaps we're seeing that now with Hex, right? Where everything's dropping. There's no actual reason that Hex should drop because of the it's tied to US dollars. So you don't have to worry about ETH going back down sub $1,000. It's not going to drag Hex down. But some people might say, okay, well, like I have some ETH and I want to rebalance, right? And so, you have selling or whatever for those kinds of reasons.
Yep. I
But
mean,
the
these are
liquidity is
important.
not dragging it down or up.
No, right. It's just there. That's the thing.
Right.
It's just a pool, right? And this is why Hex is it really like it might not seem like a trade superior because of the down price action, but trust people that have been around for longer than a few months, it does because of that.
hmm
What's happening right now is that you have outside sales because the original group of people that bought into Hex were able to acquire so much liquidity that now, let me pull up this chart, which is actually very important. Let me just show this chart, which I've never even shown before, but it's pretty
Oh,
gangster
and
to
then I'll say
understand.
one thing real
Go
quick
ahead.
on the subject of liquidity. Like, if this is a big if, but if Hex liquidity is tied to Pulse or PulseX on
It will
PulseX,
be, I think.
yeah, it's probably likely to be. Then Pulse and PulseX will literally drag Hex up with it, right?
Yup.
Because theoretically speaking, you're probably going to see higher X returns on Pulse and PulseX. But even that will those rising together, like the rising tide lifts all ships.
Mm-hmm.
The liquidity being binded with Hart's law is going to drag Hex up. And then I know some of the top holders of Pulse and PulseX, and they've told me that they're going to redistribute into more T-shares. So, not financial advice, but I know what these guys are doing. So,
Well, I mean, it's simple. Well, it's about understanding your opportunity cost, right?
yep.
And that's all. Like, once you realize what your opportunity set is, you can make the best decision possible. And that's all you can ask for. You don't, you really have to just be comfortable, understand the decision you're trying to make, and be comfortable with the confidence in yourself because you made a decision that you understood the best. That's why, we don't preach what you should do. We preach what you should learn,
hmm
right? Because that sets the tone up for a different process altogether. So let's talk about this chart. This chart is basically saying the amount of T-shares that were available per the liquidity pool at zero duration, meaning you're not adding any length to time. This is just what the system is saying exists per the
Right. The
liquidity
flat
pool,
amount.
right? Just a flat amount. That's right. So at one point in time in the beginning, there were over 1 million T-shares available. This is how cheap they were at one point in time. Now we're all the way down to 11,000. I don't think people realize what's going on here. And this
It's
is just
crazy.
one point of view. Yeah, this is insane. I've never shown this chart until the other day. And it's because this is major alpha and people don't get it, right? They're going to look at this chart and be like, so what? And that's exactly why you
So,
need to look
is
behind
this is T-shares based on how much like liquidity is in
liquidity.
the Uniswap pools?
That's right.
That's
So if
awesome.
somebody, yeah,
That's awesome.
exactly. Doesn't leave much on the table. And people don't realize
hmm
that.
Man, it's just it's crazy because it's like we talk about this all the time, but it's like
Hmm.
it's just a numbers game and it's just a time thing, and it's like
Yeah, it takes time. Look at this chart. Look
pe-
at this chart. This chart is showing this is the top. This is the displacement in supply over time, meaning all new entrants are making it this much harder to attain hex. Now, over this dip, this thing went from 30%, I'm lying, from 25% to 40% during this dip. I think people need to think about that because it didn't go down, it went up. Exactly. Very critical statement.
it's only it's like it's like
It's
I
been
said
like six
before, like
months.
hex is inevitable.
Yeah, it's been like 6 months and it only continues to increase. So, you got to realize, guys, like we've been around. Let me pick this chart. This is the whole, price chart for Hex, right? Like this orange line down here. This pink line is the payout per T share. Okay, that yellow line is just the summation of both, right? But you ignore that yellow line. Just focus on the orange and the pink because those are really representative of what the experience is in terms of Hex, right? So when you're looking at that, you see that at the beginning, I mean, you were getting hex for basically nothing, right? You can get
hmm
100,000 hex for $1 or so, whatever the numbers were, right? But over time, it became null and void. You're getting 8, 7 for $1 now. 8 or 7 for $1 versus 100,000 for $1 or whatever the number is. So these are the kinds of things you have to think about. because that is how wealth is measured. How many of these things can I acquire for this amount of fiat? Because that's how you really are winning. It's by your purchasing power. It's not by the dollar amount in your account, actually. And this is a little nuanced, it's a little advanced, but it's important to understand because there's a lot of millionaires out here that are broke because of how they live, because they don't understand the value of money. They just understand to spend it.
It's true. I mean, I think like a lot of people, they like you might be making like 50 cents a day in Hex, right? Like you're a small cat, and they're like, oh, I'm only making 50 cents a day. But then it's like, and they're not getting as much as they could get, right? They could be adding more per paycheck or whatever. And then when it starts making them hundreds of dollars a day, thousands of dollars a day, then they're like, oh my God. I like you look back in time and they're like, I had all this opportunity and I squandered it because I didn't really like see the value. But like T-shares continue to do their thing. And you know, price action is just price action, guys. Crypto does this, you know, like I'm like every time like someone says something, I'm like, guys, this is normal. Like this is totally normal. And even the emotions that I'm seeing on Twitter, I mean, I've said it before. I said it last year. I said Hexicans don't know real pain, and they're going to. You're going to know real pain.
You
Like
sure as
I
hell
said
did
it,
say
bro.
that, bro. Sure as hell
I
did
said
say
it.
that.
Like,
I forgot about that. You damn call it.
yeah, yeah. And it's like you like everybody wants to think that they're exempt from those things, but this is how markets work. You know, fear and greed, pain, math, like they all work together, and it's just doing its thing. And this is all part of the process, and it's going to allow us to. You think we could not have done another two if we were at 40 cents right now? How could we have done another 200x? It could not have happened. Okay, it's
Nah,
not possible. We have to go through these phases and these
ups and
periods
downs.
to, yeah, you have to let these people go, because the people that are selling for a loss, they would have dumped major amount. I mean, think about a guy who has, okay, so like the guy I was talking about earlier, right? He's got 120 million coins, or had 120 million coins liquid. He's got 48 million. So let's just say he had 50 million coins that he's dumping right now, right? He's dumping every few days. He's dumping 50 million, you know, part of his 50 million coins or whatever. At $2, how much money is that?
A little bit.
That's a lot of dough, bro. You need a
A
lot of
little
people
lot.
buying to support that. You see what I'm saying? So how could we do a
Yeah.
200x? So, you know, that's a 4x. How could we do a 200x with somebody like that has that amount liquid? That's not, this is all part of it, you know. But the best thing is it's like it's opportunity for the people that you're still working a 9 to 5. You still got your grind on. It's opportunity, and it'll allow you to be the OGs of the future. It'll allow you to be the people that are, you know, securing the house for your family, securing retirement for your parents, you know, all the things like, you know, I did and stuff. Like it comes from those dips. Okay. Like I acquired Hex. I acquired a lot of crypto in the bear market. That's, you think I was, how much could I buy at $4,000 Ethereum? You know, like even if you're rich, you can get some, but you can't get a ton. You're not getting thousands of Ethereum. You can do that in the bear market though.
Yeah, I mean, I think your message is profound because it's really the key, right? How do you create outsized wealth? It's with patience, understanding, and diligence, right? I
Yep.
mean, I didn't just wake up one day and say, let me buy all this Hex. I got all the Hex that I could afford to, in the future, change my position in life, because that's how it works. I'm not Wendy's. I'm not retired yet. I'm working right now, even while I'm streaming. But I have all this wealth of information because of all the mistakes I've made that I have to share it, because we as a community need it. It's not for me. I already know the shit. So it ain't gonna change my life
Right.
or none. You know what I mean? So the things that Wendy's are saying are extremely important. The things that I'm sharing are for you to take and verify for yourself, so you can see that the lessons are real, right? The things that Wendy's are telling you are real. These are the things that are gonna help you make the difference in your future, right? I mean, imagine being able to buy all this Hex here when it was under a cent. I mean, it was under a cent for a while. And people were complaining and
Yep.
complaining and complaining and complaining, and now they wish it was there.
Yep.
but it ain't never
It's
going
true.
back there. Yeah, but it's never going back there.
Yeah, it's like,
Because
what are you going to do when opportunity comes? You know, like,
right,
are you going to
you gotta
squander
be
that
ready.
moment, or are you going to seize it? You know, and there's a lot of people. If we do drop to 1 cent, there's going to be people that are waiting for
Oh,
sub-cent.
oh yeah. Yo,
You know,
look, I've been talking about this since we left the cent, back before
hmm
we even went to Vegas. I mean, nobody, a lot of people wanted the price to go up. I didn't really want the price to go up, but I knew it was inevitable. We know it's inevitable. It has to go up because it's that good.
yeah, right. Over the long term, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just, like short and medium term,
process.
it's just process. It's just going to do what it's going to do. But I mean, I'll tell you, I know people that have like $8 million to buy at certain price points if it dips lower, and so it's like,
They waiting.
it's never guaranteed. It's never guaranteed that you're going to see a certain number. So at some
Right.
point, you have to just say, okay, this is enough. I'm going to start DCAing here. And it's like Richard says, like a lot of people a lot of hexagons listen to Richard, but they don't listen to him.
No,
Okay.
they don't.
You listen to what he
Right.
says, but you don't apply it correctly. Right.
Correct.
So it's like, you think that like hex can't dip. You think, but you listen to Richard talk about markets. Like Richard calls the top
Yeah,
in
well, you know
Bitcoin.
what? I gotta
Richard,
say, even I was wrong for a long time about Hex, thinking that this shit is never gonna drop again. It just even fooled me. Like, I honestly, dude,
I mean, the price performance was amazing. I mean, it's the
it was
best I've
crazy.
ever seen. It's just, I just know people, and I know,
Right.
like, especially when you see people that have acquired so much wealth, like some people are going to actualize profits, and then
Sure.
the thing that has allowed us to go up so much allows us to go down so much also, right?
100%.
So
100%. This is what we're
it's just
seeing
it's
with this
just
dip.
exactly, it's just part of the process. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's just, it is what it is. People are going to get shaked out, and hopefully people recognize the opportunity and they're able to scoop it up. But I know it's hard, and some people are,
Very difficult.
like they'll chase shiny new coins, and they'll go into other things. And some people might say, okay, well, I don't want to buy hex, I'm going to wait for pulse or pulsex. Like, it's we don't know. I mean, and here's the thing, right? So you might be one of those people, and you might say like, well, I'm just going to wait for pulse. It's a new coin launching. Well, what if pulse launches 10x higher than the ICO price, and
Right.
you're saying I'm not going to buy hex at an 80-90% discount, so you're going to buy that's up 10x, right? It's like,
Kind
you
of
don't
crazy.
know. Yeah, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. That is something that I learned in crypto a long time ago, and it's very relevant. And if you just keep that in your head, like, it applies to a lot of things in crypto. It's like,
Applies
you
to
don't know what's
everything, in
coming
my
next.
opinion. I mean, and this, let's
Yeah,
talk about that. Well, let's talk about operating in an ambiguous environment, because I don't think people realize that that's what crypto is. Every market is ambiguous. There is no certainties, especially if you're not willing to devote time to it,
hmm
right? And I think that a lot of people don't realize that, because time in the market is the key to success, not
oh,
timing the market.
absolutely, exactly.
So,
Exactly. I mean, if you watch like half the TA channels, it's like, none of these guys know where it's going. You know,
it's all
they don't know.
probability based. It's all
It's all
probability.
probability. It is. It is. Like, you could say, okay, this pattern has a 60% chance to break down. You don't know what's going to happen, and it's just like, sometimes I'll watch, like, and like, I look at both. I mean, I look at charts. I can recognize when a chart looks like shit and when a chart looks good, right? But I also recognize that, like, if on chain I see a guy that has $12 million and he's dumping it into low liquidity, that it's going to cause the chart to probably break down, right?
Right.
So I can see those things too, and it's like, somebody that's just looking at one or the other is not necessarily seeing the full
Nah,
picture.
they missing it. They missing it entirely,
hmm
bro. They're missing it entirely, and it's not by choice. It's just by happenstance. I mean, it's not that they're hoping it to be that way.
Right.
It's just how it ends up working out, because they're not seeing what they're not seeing.
I
Literally,
feel
that's
like
all.
a lot of people, it's like moths to a flame. Like, I feel like a lot of people, and I don't watch that much content, but the content I do, a lot of times I'm like, this just feels like fluff, and like the crowd, like the people watching are not actually learning anything. Like if I come on stream and I don't teach people something, then I'm not doing, like, I'm just wasting my time, right? Like I could be doing other things. So if like some of these TA channels and stuff like that, I'm like, man, they ain't teaching nobody shit. It's plebs, you know, that are just like talking, you know, could go up, could go down, but they're not teaching you anything. Nope. And it's like, don't waste your time on stuff like that. Like, sure, learn TA. Like, there's plenty of places to like learn TA, but like if you're watching that shit every single day and you're checking your Staker app like 100 times a day, and you're not actually like, you're not thinking about your future. You're not thinking about, what can I do? Like, price is down 50%, price is down 80%. What could I do to reduce my my expenses and potentially like make more income, buy the dip? You know, like it's things like that that are going to help you, not like this like mind-numbing stuff, you know, mind-numbing fluff. Like learn the tools that are going to help you achieve success.
That's it.
And trading in and out does not achieve success, people. Let's all be really honest. You can obviously trade positions. Like everyone could trade a position. It wouldn't make a difference. But if you're talking about trading, getting into all these coins, yes, you are going to get 6Xs in one day. Yes, you are. And you're not going to cash out. And then you're going to get wrecked the next day. Good job. Just like everyone else. It's the truth. People always show me. They just show me the chart. They're like, dude, if I cashed out here, I say, you people like you don't cash out there. Yeah. Like you're literally the guy that would never cash out there. Like,
look, it's hard, bro, right? Guy. If you look at was it Dex Screener? Just look at how there you go. How Hedron topped out, right? Like I knew that was the top when it was hitting 7 cents. Like I really wanted to sell whatever I had, you know, at the time liquid. Because Hedron is a liquidity tool for hexagons, right? Like that's what it's about. It's about hexagons being able to take their liquidity. So let's see here. All right, like you can see, like it was clearly diverging, right? Like the top there. Oh, come on. Nice little top there. Nice little negative divergence here, right? And that's how I knew the market was done. But that's not the winning strategy, you know, because what if some MEV would have jumped in there and screwed me? What if? Was I willing to take that risk instead of just buying, just to get out, to just double my stack, to just come back? When I could just be patient, wait for my next fiat to hit, and then just buy some more. And not take that risk of losing all the coins I got. Because we don't know where this is going. Right? And I think in the beginning, like this was something that was really important to me with Hex at the beginning, which I want to stress to people now, that you got to really focus on accumulation. And the reality is that it really never ends. But when something costs 0, literally, you really cannot fuck around. Like, I got a lot of Hex coins because I did not fuck around. Because I was already late to the game. I found this bad boy when it was already 0.5 cent, bro. Like, the shit was already up here. Like, it was already up here. Look where it started, right down here. But when I found it, it was already 5x from that level. So there's a lesson in that, people, right? Like take advantage of opportunity. If you see that 12 cents is the best you're going to do, 10, 11 cents, you need to tackle that and not fuck around. Like if you think the market's going to keep going down, then you better be right. That's why
especially
DCA,
if you're holding your buys and you're just like,
that's what I was about to say. That's why DCA is so important.
I get so many messages like at what price should I buy? At what price should I ladder buys? At what, you know, and it's like like I'm looking at like so many different things that like I'm like, dude, I'm not really looking at that. Like that's like a pure TA thing where it's like, okay, you could look at this like Fibonacci, you could say, okay, we're having, you know, like if you do Elliott wave, you could say, okay, we're having our wave down. Yeah, it's too like you're like the way I look at it. I look at everything. I look at macro. I look at on chain. Like what are people doing? Um, I look at it all. I look at like how much time it's been since we were at all time high. What what the dip is. Where traditionally we're at. So it's like, but people just want like a straight answer. Like tell me what to do. So it's like, dude, the answer is like pretty simple. It's DCA. That's best for like 99.9% of people. And if you really want to, do what we talked about like before, like the dynamic thing where it's like, okay, DCA, stack cash. If we're at all time highs, you could potentially stack cash. You could, whatever. And then dynamic DCA when we're in a dip. But the thing with Hex is like when it runs. Like sometimes you might see a 30% dip and then another 5x. So it's like, do you want to miss that? So in general, DCAing in crypto is just always better. Just the way it is.
100%.
It's just volatility. It's just like your mind can only handle so much. Wendy's can only handle to be pinched out to 0.01%. At some point, he's going to have a fucking meltdown too. Everyone has a point, right? It's like, but Richard Hart, at least for me, he prepared me for this by his fucking streams because he just told me. He literally fucking told me. He was like, God, not me specifically, but during his streams, he was like, guys, this is going to occur. If you don't sell, you're good. And then on top of that, I made a system where if you want to, you don't have to, you can stake in a lot of that risk of your mind taking advantage of everything that you're doing and undermining you because you're just not aware enough. Richard really just did it all for us, and then he told us what to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He gave us the proper points of reference to lean on for success. I mean, I don't think everybody's, recipe is going to be the same, but I think they're going to have similar ingredients, if that makes sense.
And I'll tell you this, like I'm in a position where I don't ever have to work again. Okay. I don't ever have to work another day in my life. If Hex goes to like a penny or lower, I'm going back to work. I'm going to get another job. I'm going to go back to nursing, and I'm literally going to grind my dick off to buy the dip because I know the ROI on that. And it's funny because like, the last bear market, I remember calculating. I remember being like, all right, so if Ethereum is $100 and I'm buying with this paycheck, it was basically like I made $2,000 an hour. And guess what happened?
Right.
That happened. So my hours that I put in, I wasn't making, $50 an hour. I wasn't making like $60 an hour. I was making $2,000 an hour. And, so, I mean, it's just crazy that, even somebody like me that doesn't ever have to like work again, like I have my limits too. Like I will be so greedy that like, I need more cash. Like just give me more. I want more coins. And I'm going to, obviously you want to move up in staker ranks and stuff like that. And it's like, I'll do whatever it takes. So
yeah, gotta do what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I've been going for 3 hours. I'm not used to streaming all like this, so I'm losing my brain a little bit. I could only the first hour was like active listening, and then the second hour was just like, all right, make sure the comments aren't like fucking around. But thank you guys. So you basically gave me a break while giving everyone amazing free information. For all you haters out there who are watching, fuck you.
Word up.
Literally, because I'm trying to give real information out, my best that I know how. What's the best way I know how? Find the guys that I respect. Find guys that I think are doing things better than me. Oh shit! Now Hex. Oh boy, we gotta invite him in, but I have to leave now. Hold on, let's say.
Find out, like, if you put a number of.
Dude, the stream's over, brother.
Can't hear you, bro. You just muted yourself.
My bad.
Nah.
Give me a second.
You're good. I gotta go, bro. I gotta go. I've been streaming for 3 hours. I got to go. You're good, man. Anyway,
that's so
guys,
trippy.
Thank
It looks
you
like
so
a
much.
Pixar dude.
Yeah.
That's famous from. I don't know if he wants to say it, but he's from the Twitter Space groups, guys. If you have not subscribed to me already, please do. I'm just doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm having a good time, but I want to bring you guys the best information that I can find because I'm learning at the same exact time. So guys, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, Whales and Wendy's, for giving me your morning as far as spreading your beautiful information to the masses of up to 45 people at the same time. That's an all-time high, guys.
You gotta start somewhere, baby. You gotta start somewhere.
Yep.
I started 30 days ago. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, look, it took me a while to build up my little 6,000 sub count, so don't feel nothing. Because there's plenty of people came after me that got 20 and 10,000, so don't feel no type of way, bro.
Just share it. More people are watching in the recording.
Peace.
Peace out, guys.
Peace.